Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to The Hole in the World, a actual play of the Invisible Sun RPG by Monty Cook Games. I, as always, am your GM, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino, and I am joined by my four lovely castmates, namely starting with our one of two resident apostates, playing Gavriel.
Hey y'all, it's Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, playing Gavriel Glinsky, the ardent iconoclastic apostate who hosts a choir. Very excited to see what's about to happen, y'all. I was just hoping that we could have one fun night out.
Nah, universe doesn't allow that. Let alone the actuality. Below her, playing our resident weaver, Maurice.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill. I'm playing Maurice Webb, who is a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality. And I just saw my good buddy Ashwin, eyes covered in black, get snatched towards the infected opera house.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that was a rough look. But on the bright side, you were joined once again by a couple of very helpful vislae. We'll see if maybe you can get them back. And speaking of our other lovely vislae, our second resident apostate playing Twig, who has been going through some shit.
That's an understatement. What's up, y'all? I'm Hopper, and I can be found on the interwebs at Fail Deadly in most places, and that's with a 3 instead of an E because bad person. And also at The Legend Tree, where I put bad ideas out into the world so you can play with them. But yeah, Twig is currently engaged in combat, should I recall, with a terrifying creature with a giant weird hand.
Yeah, it is, I believe, what is known as a claw sinister, which, yeah, for whatever reason, their left hand is gigantic. I don't know, maybe find out why that is. And finally, our resident Vance, playing Kyrrie.
Hi everyone, I'm Marissa, also known as Critical Kitten around the internet, and I play Curiel von Hollingsworth, first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance. She is an aromatic stoic who understands the words. She's guardian of Zaleska's grimoire, curator of King Nine's library, and recently disposed of a feral shepherd by unleashing her maleficence in the form of her raw, repressed emotion lightning. So that was a first for Kyrrie. I don't think she knew that actually existed anywhere inside of her, but lo and behold.
Yeah, it was pretty epic. I loved absolutely watching all of that. But I want to start off, guys, before we do a little bit more of a recap. I do want to say that for anybody who is watching this today, I'm giving you a bit of a content warning. We're going to be dealing with some horror themes and other kind of related imagery, things like body horror, creepy crawlies, and maybe some kind of spectral, ghosty, woasty, awful things. So if you are not into those, please be warned, be aware. We want to make sure that you guys are comfortable just as much as I want to make sure that my players are comfortable, which is why today we're using the X card in the form of kind of just a sign, or they'll kind of let me know in chat if they feel like we need to pull back. So as always, safety toolkit, always a good thing to have. So if you haven't used those, I recommend checking out the X card by John Stavropoulos. Lines and Veils is another great tool. And Consent and Gaming by our own Monty Cook Games. So check that out, and feel safe and happy when you're playing it with your friends. So that all being said, I believe a little bit of a recap is in order. A lot has been going on. Namely, Twig, I think you kind of reached a real turning point in your story when you confronted and ended up helping contribute to the death, ostensibly, of Jaren the Devoured, who had been dogging your every move for several weeks since you had been back to the actuality. It was a huge kind of emotional burden that you still carry, I believe. And
Yeah.
Not only that, someone who was previously unknown or kind of unthought of to Gavriel for a while made their return. Nikolai, a associate of yours who you didn't realize, or maybe you just hoped was a vislae, turned out to be just that. But there seems to be some unusualness. There's definitely some struggles with that. Nikolai, it turns out, suffered from pretty severe depression before you returned and made your presence felt. And speaking of additional crossroads, Kyrrie, you find yourself with many different paths, many different potential masters and patrons. Not only kind of arcane and powerful in the form of your own Vancian campus along the lines of Yadavastra as your supreme magus, but also in the form of your patron King Nine and these mysterious mirror creatures that have been occasionally reaching out to you. And finally, Maurice, you, like you've said, you have witnessed Ashwin being abducted into this omnipresent kind of looming opera house. And it's very disconcerting. You literally watch them being ripped from your grasp. You tried teleporting them away, but the magic that you employed, because it was against their will, the magic you employed just was a hair not strong enough. And now you see the Lunarian Opera House in all of its opulence looming above you. But before we pick back up where you were, we're going to rejoin Twigg, who is still engaged with a creature you guys understand is called a claw Sinister. So, this calls for some music. Twigg, you have dealt a considerable amount of damage to the claw Sinister the last time you engaged them. This creature, whatever it is, this massive, swollen, claw-like left hand, you've managed to evade their clumsy strikes to some degree. But what has been kind of also calling attention, there's something about this creature. You think you heard something kind of as the black smoke of the downed feral shepherd that Kyrrie destroyed. You thought you heard whispers on the wind. That said, you are still kind of engaged with this creature. There's something off about it, something you realize is you're not noticing, and you're up. What do you do?
I'm gonna give a little snuffle snorfle and cast Scent of Magic.
Excellent. Okay, you cast Scent Magic. Your Snuffle Snorfle reaches out. You, once again, I think you actually activated this before, so if you want to save the sorcery, I will just say you kind of refocus your attention.
I did, but since it is a core thing, I do... it says for a moment. So I don't know. I would... for the sake of keeping stuff to the game and something, I will spend the 2 points.
Excellent. Okay, so you Snuffle Snorfle. Once again, you feel that top note of the dark. It's kind of like this, like what you imagine a truffle pig must smell, is just basically just feeling the full scent of magic kind of wafting through your nostrils, and you hear that, like, you feel that top note of darkness emanating off of the claw Sinister. But the thing that you also catch is a bit of invisible indigo magic. It's wafting together. There's kind of like a base foundation of it. And you realize that also, kind of having been around other vislae and other normal people, that there's kind of like a baseline to everybody's scent. Some of them have like note and tonal variations. And what you realize, that as dark as this thing was, it used to be a person. It used to be a vislae. and that's when you notice the torn clothing. It is adorned in several tears is typography that you can realize like makes the second half of the word of a title, which is INE space Bureau of Public Works.
A civil servant.
Yeah.
Oh, poor bastard.
What do you do?
I mean, speaking as a civil servant, probably still shoot them. Don't read too much into that, folks. Yes. Commence the shooting.
You commence the shooting? Okay. Why don't you go ahead? I believe the thing you need to hit, the total you need to hit is a 5. Go ahead and give me a roll.
Okay, so I have light ranged 1, and then I also have sortilege left. I'm gonna jam a sortilege into this.
Okay.
With this is probably with yield blood revolver.
Excellent. Yeah. By the way, what does it look like? You've reformed the blood revolver in your hand. You are pointing at, what does it look like when it fires a projectile?
So it's kind of interesting. So it's not entirely blood. It's basically formed of like this, largely formed of blood, but the handle and a couple of pieces of hardware are also bone, because, you know, reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And when it fires, it just kind of gives off this flash of green light,
Mm-hmm.
and a globule of this scintillating energy just shoots out.
Excellent. So give me your roll. Remember, roll 2 dice.
Mm-hmm. That's a 2 on the regular dice and an 8 on the magic dice.
All right. How much damage do you do?
I believe we said that is not in my thing.
I think it was 4 damage.
It's a level 4 weapon.
Excellent.
It's a level 4 spell.
Excellent. So 4 damage, and with that, you tell me how you kill this thing.
Okay, that's refreshing. Probably like center mass. Just shoot it, and I think that this projectile hits, and then its form kind of ripples, like almost like somebody was like bloop, a little pebble into water, and the form kind of ripples and starts to lose molecular cohesiveness.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's almost like these things, whatever they are, there's something about this process, this transformation this thing has undergone. It spills like jello, and you watch it as it kind of teeters for a moment, and then just weighed down by the weight of its gigantic left claw, it just sinks down and hits the pavement. Which gives you a moment to look at all of your surroundings. The entire square in which this kind of external outdoor venue was being created for the radio station is in chaos. People are running. Apparently there are Parasad agents, people you recognize from the Vancian campus after having apprehended you sneaking around, or not after you recovered, rather, helping you. They are trying to assist people who are in distress. There are kind of people performing triage. There are people hunting down what looks to be the remainders of these feral cats that attacked the entire crowd. And somewhere off in the distance, I think you remember the vague direction where your friends came from. So what do you do?
I mean, where is Kyrrie and Gav and Maurice? Can I still see Maurice, or is Maurice out of sight?
I would say, knowing where everybody was vaguely, I think Maurice might be a little bit out of sight, but I think a flash of green catches the side of your peripheral vision as you see Kyrrie fire off this wicked looking spell. Remind me, it's like basically a bolt of green lightning.
Yeah, so it's emotional electricity. So I think it was like kind of an icy blue, but like so light that it almost looks kind of gray. So not like electric saturated blue, but like something that could have been pulled from the sky, like the color of the sky on a nice day.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. So you have fired off this blue lightning bolt. And I think, yeah, Twig, you immediately clock that. Actually,
I'm gonna
go ahead.
dump most of the tray, but keep one of the champagne flutes.
Excellent.
I don't think I can run and hold on to a tray. And book it that way. If there's any threats in the way, shoot them.
Yes.
With magic.
Yeah, that always helps, right? Gavriel, what are you doing in all of this? I think Nikolai was probably not far away from your side and is kind of like looking around a little bit panicked.
So I had also just fired on the feral shepherd.
Mm-hmm. That thing, it erupted into darkness.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm already in action. I'm not quite sure in terms of visual what else I can see to fire on. If there isn't anything that is threatening me directly, I'm just going to be readying a second shot for when the inevitable other shoe drops.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're readying a second shot. Nikolai seems to be panicked. There are people just kind of like running one way or the other. You see somebody striding with a purpose towards Kyrrie, who I think you just saw fire off a blue bolt of lightning. This person is clearly a Parasod agent from their uniform, and I think that they shout to both of you as you are kind of preparing. You hear a very gruff female voice say to Kyrrie, "Velator, situation report."
Kyrrie turns around. Does she recognize this Vance?
No, this is easily either I think it's a Cantral. They again have like a little bit of authority, and I think I think it's actually addressed to both you and Gavriel, but it's really kind of like deferring to you in terms of like waiting for you to tell them what's going on.
Kyrie's gonna look over at Gav, kind of just make eye contact, and then look back at the Cantral and say, kind of, almost winded way from just having cast this spell. We just disposed of a shepherd creature, and there could be more. There were feral cats. They seem to mostly have been gone, but I'm sorry, Cantral, I don't think that the worst is over by any means.
Okay, very well. We're going to evacuate the square. We're going to perform medical help. We're going to move people. You should evacuate. If you need to, use defensive magic, whatever you need to do, but you should not be in the square. You leave this to the higher degrees. You understand?
Yes, Cantral, I understand.
Good. And she just kind of begins marching, beginning to bark orders at everybody, and is just beginning to kind of like, again, forming shielding magic. There is just kind of like this panic, but it's kind of like they're bringing order to chaos. At least that's what she's trying to do. One thing, as Twig, you were walking past, you see more of that dark cloud trickling out of the claw Sinister. You can make me another perception roll. This one's going to be a little bit easier. I believe the last one was a 6. You're just going to need a 5 because you know it's saying something.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put a Bene into that. I don't know why I'm rolling 2 dice. That's still not good. Let me double check. Yeah. That's still a 4 plus 1. That's a 5.
Okay, so you do catch it. Basically, you catch, I think, the tail end of it. You're kind of like looking for hearing something, and it says, "The architect, bring the arc," and that's what you catch as it kind of whispers past you. And that's when we cut to Maurice. Maurice, you've just watched your friend pulled by several hands of shadow back towards this looming moonlit structure. It's still kind of like the middle part of the day, but this thing, it just seems to appall, is seeming to kind of overcast this otherwise beautiful day, and it seems to be the clouds surrounding the opera house appear to begin spreading out. What do you do?
Maurice begins to weave some magic. He pulls strands of courage into his lungs, and with magical amplification, says in a voice that the entire venue yard could hear, including his friends, the opera house, Ashwin's in the opera house. And it's not a shout, it's not a booming voice, it's Maurice's voice, just loud as fuck.
Yeah, I think all of you, like every one of you, clock it, and you know exactly where Maurice is, and you're actually kind of surprised the amount of authority. I
think at this point Duncan's probably catching up after the magical speed that Maurice had used prior, and Maurice kind of turns back and keeps an eye on the opera house, waiting for his friends to join him.
After Gavriel hears you shout this, she's gonna book it in your direction, like signaling to Kyrrie and to Nikolai to follow.
Okay. Yeah. Kyrrie, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, she's gonna follow.
Okay. Twig, are you also kind of following the call? Okay.
Yes.
So I did two things wrong, which is I didn't pull two cards because you guys cast two spells.
Gotta do it.
Oh.
First one. Let's see what we got. This is the Crowded Tomb. Pale, green, secrets, ravens, books, and flames, meanings, ending, despair, and completion. The tomb lies at the end of all stories, the reward for the greatest monarch and the lowliest beggar. Of course, the tomb is crowded. It grows more crowded each day. Mourners crowd around the tomb, but it is even more crowded within. So many deaths, so many endings. Is the location card of the Secrets family and thus represents a permanence or is related to a physical place. This means the finality that it represents probably occurs in specific and significant location. That location is the opera house. The silence grows more crowded and yet remains silent. So that's the first thing, is that pall, that kind of, it seems this gloom that seems to reach out from the depths of the opera house is reaching out to the rest of your kind of like the venue. I think everybody can agree that that is an appropriate pull. Next one. Oh yeah.
Are these existing simultaneously?
These are existing simultaneously. I'm going to say the location card exists.
I would point out that would have, because I am secrets, ravens, and books.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was very relevant to my snuffle snorkeling.
Exactly. You realizing that, yeah, this thing, I think that's the other thing, is if you follow the scent, it's coming straight from the opera house, all of the dark. That's what I will give you for that. This one, next one, the Lost Star. And I think this is Ashwin. The Lost Star, good or bad luck, great distance, great age, great value. We gaze into the night sky and we see the stars shining back down on us. We wonder what they really are. That secret for another time. Star represents a higher world where everything is magnified. Everything having to do with the stars is far greater than would be in our world. Love burns brighter, gems sparkle more beautifully, and children sing more sweetly. Stars fall. It happens, but what happens next depends on who finds it. The star is Ashwin. Ashwin, who speaks to the moon, who listens to her words. That is the Lost Star. The grayness is accentuated here. Magic from the gray is amplified. The Gray Reaper is in effect. Indigo is diminished. So the light of truth is ebbed by this omnipresent darkness. That's what you get for those two cards, I think. Whew. All right. You are all, at this point, I believe, gathered back together. You have heard the command from the Parasad to stay and try to help people in the square or try to diminish the chaos. What do you guys do?
I ignored that order because it doesn't apply to me. And we have other things to be hunting.
Okay. What is everybody else doing?
I think Kyrrie's gonna look at Gav and say, well, Once, long ago, you told me that order is not always the most important thing to follow. So I think I'm going to pretend that Control never gave that order to me, and we're going to proceed as though it didn't happen.
And Gav kind of like raises one eyebrow before like a very slow smile, like kind of spreads up just like one side of her face. Like, all right, you might make a better soldier out of you yet.
Oh, I don't think we're that far, but maybe sometimes it's a little fun to be flexible with rules.
Are we having this conversation while we're running towards the opera house? I'm assuming is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is definitely like the hero run, like the hero lungs, where it's just like, wow, they seem to be saying so much while just in the middle of a freeze frame.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Twig, you've got this champagne flute and a blood gun in the other hand. Jamming along. Yeah, what are you doing, Twig?
I think keeping an eyeball out for that trail of smoke and just pulling in the rear. Making sure we're not about to get wrecked.
Well, no promises.
You know, why do you say things like this, Zach? You know, it just hurts me and yeah.
Oh, no. Wow. Oh, buddy. Okay. So, yeah, I think at this point you guys are back together at the front of the Opera House. Any one of you all can make me a perception check right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Challenge rating on that?
I'm going to use sortilege.
Okay. So I think your challenge is going to be a 6, but depending on what you get, you might get more.
I'll put a Bene into
I got
this.
a 9.
Did not do well on that. That was a 2.
Okay.
Also a 2.
Okay. All right. How you do, Maurice?
I got 5.
A 5. Okay. Do you have any bonus or benes, by the way?
That's with my bene, yeah.
Okay. So in that case, I think Maurice, I think the two apostates are a little distracted and kind of like getting ready to go into the fray, and they're just like more like actions, like deeds, not fire first, ask questions later.
That one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think Maurice, you're a little distressed. Ashwin was in your hands. You had them in your grasp, and then you got pulled away. But with that 5, I think mixed success, you see essentially that the Opera House is looming like nastily. This thing is basically it is in the shape of a diamond. If you had pulled out 2 of the edges on one side and kind of made them into sharper pulling points, but it's kind of like an equilateral triangle mixed with a much thinner pointed towards the end of the north wing. So the place you're facing now is the south wing, and this major entrance, it's basically kind of like there's a massive kind of diamond pointed overhang.
Is this just an angrier version of the Sydney Opera House?
It is a much angrier version. It also is much more angular,
as opposed
version.
to
Yeah. Also, why have 2 separate venues? You can mess with space. You can kind of like traverse a number of floors. It's just ostentation, man. This is not functional. It's not a tribute to the moon. Anyhow.
So I have a question.
You may ask that question.
So we're in the place where I got my anguish, which is still attached to me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that do anything, or is it just... Do I have the potential maybe in here to finally get rid of this thing?
You tell me. What does
Make it worse?
I don't know.
What does
I don't know.
Well, let me ask you, knowing what you have seen about this opera house before, what does Gavriel feel?
It's a bad place.
So let me ask you this.
But the feeling that I had when we were first in there wasn't horror so much as curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think there's a little bit of that feeling of the hunter and the prey, but I think you're thinking about it as an opportunity for you to turn the tables, to make the hunter the hunted. So, Kyrrie, with your 9, you very much understand how this you understand the physics of this thing, which is essentially you get a very clear idea of basically how you've seen the way spaces interact, and you're taking a look at this, and it reminds you a lot of the Vancian campus, the idea of hard angles, geometries, Euclidean in nature, but at the same time fractal. Very powerful magic is warped into is woven through the structure itself, but at the same time, you know that it probably transcends the amount of space that's been allocated. It's a very large space, but you're not sure about the physics of going from one floor to the next. But that being said, you don't necessarily know how this thing has been affected. You've also studied, to some degree, things about the ruined expanse. So you know how whatever this thing is, architectural disease, rot, cyst spawn, there's something at work here that can further warp the structure itself, and that is all of the knowledge that you have going in. You'd have to get closer in order to figure out what's going on exactly.
Okay, I think I'm going to share what I know with the rest of the group sort of before going in, so that we can all formulate a plan about the best way to do it.
Maurice is scruffling Duncan and taking an action rest at this moment to refresh the pool.
Excellent. Yeah, Duncan, I think, is starting to whine and panic. Meanwhile, I think Nikolai is looking at you, Gavriel, and says, "So we're going in, yes?"
I don't think we have much of a choice, considering that Maurice's friend has been taken.
Well, glad that you got this then. And he pulls out his sidearm, and and it's the same sidearm you recognize from Moscow, or not from Moscow, from the war. And it's just I don't know if this thing works, what it does, but we're about to find out. If you want, I can ask for help, but it takes time.
No, I think that we can handle this.
Okay, you say so. And all right, are you guys ready to make your entrance, so to speak?
So Kyrrie shares that this place has structural integrity issues or structural warping.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to try to deal with that in any way? So Maurice asks, there is a danger if we stay, lumped together. We could be crushed by the various forces that might shift at a moment's notice. Maybe we need to keep some space between us.
Or we could be permanently separated. This place seems to warp everything it touches. We risk getting trapped altogether, certainly, but we also risk perhaps a far worse alternative.
The study on these sorts of things is, well, it's not as evolved or as far along as one would hope, but as far as we can gather in the Vance, these things have an intelligence almost, some sort of will, intent, and it's always malicious, but I wonder if it doesn't behoove us to consider this opera house almost as alive, a body that has been infected.
Something did try to speak to me when I stepped in the first time.
Well, that's good. That means it has a language. Could you understand it?
Yeah. It said something in a sing-songy voice, just, "Hey there, do you care?"
I can't for the life of me think what that might mean, but perhaps it was directed to you, and to you alone.
Is anybody else uncomfortable with the idea of going into a thing that's alive?
I mean,
and my friend's in there.
I don't think we have a choice.
By most of the things. We rode in a carriage full of legs. Going inside an opera house that might have a voice inside of it is not the strangest thing that's happened to me, I'd say, in even the last 24 hours.
You're not wrong.
I know that the point is to fight this thing, but I also would like to try to learn about it as we do so. This could be a very important breakthrough in terms of how much we know about how these sorts of things operate, how they think, what their intent is, and why.
Could you do me one favor, though? that you
Yes.
won't try to interview the thing as it's trying to kill you.
Well, if it tries to kill me, that would be the end of the interview. One would think.
I think
I'm gonna go with
Maurice-
Kyrrie. I'm gonna go with Kyrrie.
Maurice taps Twig on the shoulder and says, like, can you need a scrap of paper? Quick.
Like just jams, like kind of shuffles around in their pockets and pulls out, like it's a menu from some strange little like what's the falafel equivalent and in Saturnine? What's this?
for a falafel joint.
Yeah, what? Tell me. I want to know more about the food. Is very important to me, Zach.
All right.
Well, I say we put that to chat. The chat names the falafel joint.
What terrifying falafel stuff? What terrifying falafel equivalent is there in Saturnine?
I just want everyone to know that falafel backwards is lefalaf, which is a really great word. So if no one can think of anything else, we could just call it lefalaf.
You spoke my name and I am summoned.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like you'd say.
Don't say it 3 times, guys. Come on, we know this. So Maurice grabs that scrap of paper and furiously writes a note and says, 4 of us, and scratch that out, 5 of us, Opera House, send help.
I believe that's Twig is like reading over your shoulder too close. Like with that, like they've just kind of let personal space slide at this point, and then kind of goes 6, and then dashes over to Kyrrie. And do you have them? Do you have Literalum?
Yes, and Kyrrie pulls Literalum out of her bag.
Maurice scratches out, so it's 4 scratch, 5 scratch, 6 of us, Opera House.
We're multiplying.
Need backup, and takes this note and tucks it under Duncan's collar, and says, go find a Parasod boy. If you can't, to go to Kenroy. Go.
And then there's just kind of like a turning and a whine of the Duncan does before kind of turning around and then also bounding off. Okay.
And Maurice watches him go.
Twig is going to take Literalum and put and swap for the flute of champagne.
Okay.
Kyrrie will look at that and go, I'm sorry, what is
And
this?
already off and away.
Is there still champagne inside?
Yep.
Great question.
Gav
Kyrrie's gonna-
reaches over and plucks it out of your hand and just like knocks some of it back and then puts it back in your hand. All right.
Okay. You guys begin making your way to the entrance, and the entrance, as you that black smoke is pooling towards a large revolving door. There are side entrances that appear to be chained with notices from the Bureau of Public Works. You noticed this when you first saw it, Gavriel. That said, the main kind of revolving door entrance is open. There is something that you see scrawled over the top of it, though, in a kind of a madman's scribble, as though it has just been engraved in the moonlit glass of the Opera House itself. It says, "One at a time, please."
No.
Well, as much as I just said that sometimes rules should be flexible, I think perhaps this is one case where we should treat the rules very, very carefully. I think we should do as it asks.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Why would we do what it asks? It's the thing we're trying to fight.
Do you think it won't be more hostile if we don't do what it asks?
Seems pretty hostile enough as it is. I could try to shoot one of the padlocks off via the doors.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I
disliked.
May I remind all of you that this is an opera house and that there's certain etiquette at the best of times expected in an opera house.
Oh, I'm
and I
sorry.
wonder if maybe
Yeah,
this is not
cuts-
a more
I
sense
didn't
of
bring
etiquette.
my best gown with me to go shoot some sort of demon that's hanging out in the opera house. Do you have
As-
some sort of fancy dress wear for when we go on the murdering spree in an opera house? Then you can tell me what it is.
So,
Kyrrie looks down at her floor-length 30s gown.
Gav, will you have permitted Maurice to take your hand during that rejoinder you were giving to Kyrrie?
Sure.
And he takes your hand and walks with you to the entrance and says, "On 3, okay?"
So you're gonna. Okay.
All right.
We're not following these rules.
Yeah, I just never expected you to say something like that to me.
I
Thanks.
think this may be unwise, Kyrrie calls from the back.
No one's ever accused me of being otherwise.
Well, queue up behind us. We're going 2 at a time, and then you guys will be right behind us, right?
Twig gives like a long
Wait.
look at Kyrrie.
We can't go 2 at a time unless you're trying to purposefully exclude Nikolai from this.
No, everyone else would go single file, 1 at a time.
Well,
Wow, that's
Literalm
how it is?
technically counts as 2 people.
Technically
Literalm's
counts
a
as 2.
people.
Okay. All right. So it's
Oh yeah, he has to scratch out and write. Yeah, 7 of us. Nikolai.
yeah. What are you doing?
I see how it is. No, it's fine. I guess we're gonna go 2 at a time here.
Okay.
Yeah, we all agree that we're going in, right?
Oh, yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
agrees
yeah,
we're all
yeah.
going in. We're just not following the 1 at a time rule that the monster just gave us for fighting the monster, right? Okay, 3, 2, 1, in.
Okay. So what does this look like? Do you just like run into the?
Is it a revolving door? You said the glass
Yeah.
revolving door? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So like we're two people squeezed in
Squished
to
into
a
the-
revolving door.
All right. Okay. This calls for a music change. And we're going to start with, actually, I will tell you what you see first, though. So, Maurice and Kyrrie, you file into the...
Yeah, I'm with Maurice.
Okay. So, Gavriel and Maurice, you file into the rotating door. And the rest of you see them go into the opera house. And even through the glass, they appear to vanish.
Just what I was worried about.
What do the other 4 of you do?
I think Kyrie's gonna look at Twig and go, I still think we should do as it asks.
I'm disinclined to. I don't do rules. Just saying, now's a great time to start getting real flexible about those rules.
If you want to go with someone else, maybe perhaps you go with Nikolai. And I think Kyrrie looks at Nikolai.
I've already got my friend, and then Literalm pops up out of their like coat pocket and just gives like a little.
Yeah, there's Literalm kind of waves, also a little bit sheepishly, and then right to the right of them in the pocket comes out the paper crane that kind of like looks around at everybody, and then
The 8 of us.
yeah.
8.
All right, so who's going first? You and Nikolai, or just you?
I mean, Nikolai can come along, I guess.
Okay. All right, so Nikolai just okay. We do this together, yes?
Yep.
All right.
Roll hard, roll deep. Let's go.
Okay. And the 2 of you do the rotating door, and the remainder, Kyrrie, you watch as they disappear. It's just you.
I think Kyrie's going to walk up to the revolving door. Before she goes in, though, she's going to touch the scrawled words that say 1 at a time, and use her understands the words forte ability to see what she can glean from that.
Okay. So, what are you trying to learn?
Who wrote it, and if I can get some sense of intent behind the message.
Okay. I will give you this for free. You are going to, I'm going to turn a card just to make sure you don't learn anything else. All right. This card is the Sovereign, the Watcher of Mysteries, Rats, Mirrors, and Stone.
That's my family.
All
Yeah.
all actions pertaining to you while this card is in play gives you +2 to all of your actions. Everybody else it gives +1.
Dang.
The game just proverbially bitch slapped us for not following the rules.
Yeah. The librarian power, guys.
So the meanings of this is parental figure, sight, alertness, observation, and knowledge. The wisdom that comes from taking the time to observe and contemplate before acting cannot be overstated. The Watcher,
Wow.
the Watcher watches. He observes from afar, assessing and contemplating. He records what he sees and analyzes the data. He remains ever vigilant from his vantage point. Nothing slips by his eternal gaze. The Sovereign of Mysteries, the Watcher, is a father figure. He shares his knowledge with those close to him and advises those he deems worthy. The movements of the stars are the thoughts of God given motion. Okay. Notices something vital. The PC notices something vital for a joy. Okay, so here's what you notice. What you know from casting the spell. You feel the intent and it makes you reel a bit as you realize that what wrote this is a hate cyst. Something hateful and angry. The Opera House itself might be part of this, but whatever it is, whatever its spirit was, it has been subsumed by this thing. And what you realize that it has done is it told you that to separate you.
I would like to. Do I still have the ability to call upon Alenia?
You can try.
Because I'm the last one left. Could I try to summon Alenia?
You do have that spell, but you could either cast it or you can kind of forget the memory slot for the day. What do you do?
I think I'll use the memory slot for the day. No, actually, no, never mind. I will actually just cast it.
Okay, so you cast the spell to summon a Parasod agent to your location with a specific intent of reaching Alenia. Remind me what the text of the spell is.
Let me see.
I'll also pick up my Chronica here.
Yeah. See, well, because she gave me some sort of way to contact her, right?
Yeah, well, she basically said anytime you knock on her door, she'll hear you.
Yes, okay, so Norham's knock is the cantrip that goes along with this, but that's it's like a physical door. The owner of a door is politely alerted that I'm waiting to be let in.
Okay, so I'm taking a look, I'm seeing through everything. You got Norm's notes, capture specimen, binding grasp. That's right, it's a cantrip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have it handy, but I believe that essentially what you are doing is you are trying to kind of pull her to you.
Yeah.
I will say, what's the level of the spell? It's a cantrip, right?
It's just a cantrip, yeah.
Okay, make me a sorcery task.
Cool.
I'm gonna say you can spend 1 bene as normal and you can roll, I will say for her rank, which is gonna be, she's a 4th degree. All you need to do is hit a challenge 4.
Perfect. All right, so I will pump 1 sorcery into that. And that actually is a 3, so perfect.
Okay. You pull Alenia as you are making this requery, and the moment you kind of shut your eyes, you call out, and you feel a response, and you open them, and she's standing about 5 feet away from you.
I think Kyrrie looks up at her and smiles. Thanks for coming.
What's going on? I've been alerted to several problems here in the district.
We're fighting a hate cyst, and it seems that it's embodied the Opera House.
What are you... What's your intention?
My friends have already gone in. We have to go in, but I don't think it's wise to do so alone. I called you. Will you come?
And she's looking kind of panically at the scrawled wording, She's looking up at the opera house that looms overhead. She's looking at the cloud of black smoke, and she's looking at the hall, this kind of gloomy weather. And I'm gonna pull a card. I'm gonna see if she's got the wherewithal. Misremembered dream. Confusion, mistakes, change in identity. Ah yes, there were rats coming out of mirrors in the sky in my dream, weren't there? Well, this might be a mistake. All right. She agrees to go with. And she looks, she says, we're going to talk about etiquette for handling this sort of thing in the future. But in the meantime, now is the time. Let's go. She takes,
Thanks, Alenia.
yeah, and she takes your hand, and you go through the revolving door. And we're going to change the music again. So, you find yourself... Actually, I'm going to pull another card. See who gets to go first. Oh, God. Well,
Don't like that response.
Just a second.
the untrustworthy mirror.
Oh, no.
Can we trust the mirror? Shadow thinking would say yes, but wisdom gained in the actuality suggests otherwise. Okay. When you don't look into the mirror, what's the mirror looking at? Kyrrie,
Oh God. Yep. Okay.
you are holding very tightly onto Alenia's hand as you go into the opera house. And from what you saw of the exterior, you were expecting this massive foyer. This kind of like antechamber lobby before the theater proper. Where you find yourself instead, I have to consult my map, is a winding hall with many rooms to your left and your right. There are several doors facing, 4 of them on your right, and it seems to curve around. And there is one major door on your left to what looks to be a large room. Alenia is still holding your hand, but there's sort of kind of like you can feel her grasp beginning to waver a bit as her hand tremors. She says, translocation. Oh, that's never a good sign, is it?
Translocation? What does that mean?
It's moved us. It moved us from where we thought we were supposed to be.
Oh. Why?
I don't know. I just got here. Why did I come here? What are you doing? She seems to be having this kind of quiet moment of reflection.
I think Kyrie's looking around first and foremost. Does she see Twig or Gav or Maurice?
Not from anywhere you can see.
What does Kyrrie see?
The light in here is blinding in parts, as these kind of shimmering walls of moonlit stone appear to bounce light back off of you. It's very well lit, or at least it would be, if you didn't see all this organic growth kind of along the floors, almost as though like they're traveling through the hallways like capillaries, large, fleshy, pink capillaries that appear to cluster in corners and then run up from floor to ceiling.
I think Kyrrie probably has never seen anything like this before, apart from having read about hate cysts occasionally, right?
Yeah, and what you can see from the way Alenia is behaving, neither has she.
What do we do?
And there seems to be this moment of We could cover more ground and investigate. She's looking very distracted.
I think Kyrrie tightens her grip on Alenia's hand. Focus.
I'd like you to make an interaction roll for me.
Yeah. All right. I will pump my 1 bene into that.
I'm going to say it's going to be a 5 roll. How'd you do?
It's a 7.
Okay.
Plus 1, 8.
Alenia kind of snaps out of it from, yes. Focus. I guess we could look into some of the halls. We should try to find the source of the growth. Whatever this is, it has a source. Every hate cyst has a source. We just have to find it. That's the hardest part.
And to kill it, you just have to destroy the source?
Well, yes, but it has defenses. Some sort nightmares sometimes. And you begin to hear a whine in the back of your mind. A low pitch. And she says, we need to start searching, otherwise it'll overtake us. And she starts moving for the large door on the left-hand side.
Kyrie's gonna follow.
Okay. And she opens the door, and you see what looks to be a kind of a pale light envelop her as she opens the door, and she's pulled you in with her, and the door shuts behind you. And you see 8 figures. Interrupted by a single span of a long steel bar. And you realize that it's 4 pairs of you staring back at each other. As you realize you are in a choreographed dance studio with the floor-to-ceiling mirrors on every wall.
Do they move? The figures?
Do you move?
Yeah.
And as you move, they move with you in time. However, something you notice, if you look close enough, is the reflections differ slightly. You may make a perception roll if you'd like.
I will. 6.
Okay. On a 6, I think you notice that one of the, almost like a slip of the imagination, you think you see one of the reflections smile at you. And that is when it turns to face you, separating from Alenia in the reflection. And almost like a spotlight, it focuses on your reflection, your figure. You can still feel Alenia's hand in your grasp. But then it turns to face you. And it begins striding towards you from the mirror. And one after the other, 2 other reflections, both of them facing you, begin to do the same. And as they move, they change, their forms beginning to shimmer. Alenia's grip on your hand tightens, almost to the point where you feel like she's either going to draw blood or she's going to break one of your bones in your wrist. And that's when you see the 3 figures that are striding towards you. They begin to shift, but they are very much you. You know this. And you hear a voice echo overhead as it says, "Have a care, don't you? Don't you see? Don't you see what's in store for you. And the forms as they shift, one of them is a reflection of you, clad in black, eyes dark as pitch, hair done stylistically up, a gown of raven black silk and spider web shoulders. The silk so fine, so delicate. Must have been made by hand over the course of weeks, if not months. And it regards you haughtily, this reflection. The second reflection. Very uptight, very up proper, very conservatively dressed, almost militaristically in a vein very similar to the Pharisad. Very kind of, you've recognized this kind of look in some of the arch magi of the Vancian campus, but never to this extent. It's very kind of untoward how conservative and kind of dialed in. The movements she makes mechanical. There's a holster for a sortier at her hip, and she is striding forward with a purpose towards you, knee-high boots, like she's ready to spring for an attack. And the third figure, centered, admiring you, in a similar kind of vein, almost the styles intermingled, is your sister. And she regards you again haughtily and dismissively. Too weak to face me on your own, sister. And that's when you hear the Dark One say, more than enough power for you, I think. And another version, the conservative Vance to the right of you, says, ah, yes, but we should do this by the book, shouldn't we? A duel, perhaps. Destroy you, break you down. Subjugate these spells, don't you? That's what you should do. And from behind you, you hear a whisper. You can't quite make it out. That hum is still at the back of your mind. Faced by these reflections, a dread begins to set in. And we're going to cut there. Okay.
Damn.
So. Maurice and Gavriel. What are you? I think that as you begin traveling through that open door, it spins and rotates. And once again, you find yourself in a low... Actually, you find yourself in an area, once again, that's marked by all of that organic growth. That nastiness, but it's covered in darkness. It's pitch black wherever you are. You can feel like something squishy underfoot as you step forward and around, and you realize it kind of feels like you're stepping on vines or some sort of like long growth. What do you guys do?
Maurice is still holding Gav's hand and says, I didn't bring any light.
You know that I can't make lights myself, right?
I mean, but you know, one of us could have had a flash. I mean, I could have had a flashlight. Just stay close. We can do this. And Maurice gingerly steps forward, feeling out his footing in front of him and taking steps with a free hand, kind of feeling for walls or structures, banisters.
As you begin feeling around, you reach out and you feel a very soft, velvety feeling as you realize what you've gripped is a large, thick cloth.
And not Gav, or sorry, this is what I'm reaching out in front of me.
Yeah, you're reaching out in
Okay.
front of you, and your reach finds purchase. What do you do?
I did just remember, looking at my spells, I do have Finger Flame as a cantrip. So
Yeah.
I've got
There
a
you go.
tiny little cigarette lighter's worth of flame
Okay.
That'll do it.
to see.
Yeah. You see a crazy amount of fleshy growth all over the floor under you, but more to the point, where you've kind of reached out, you feel that large thick cloth, and you look up and it's a large royal blue curtain.
And does the length of the curtain go quite far?
You think you see a little opening not far.
And Maurice whispers, I think we're on the stage, and he moves towards the opening to part the curtain.
Okay. You move to the opening, and I think what you do is you kind of pull it to one side, and it is again darkness, but you see the edge of the proscenium. It's a very large stage, with very kind of large space for the actors to move around. Gavriel, what are you doing?
Since Maurice seems to know what he's about, and I'm being held onto, Gav is moving in tandem with Maurice, but she's also trying to get her own bearings, looking around her own, but she doesn't have any light on her, so all she has is that little, what is it called? The flame?
Finger Flame, it's a
Finger
cantrip.
flame.
Yeah, you are looking around with the finger flame. You are trying to follow the light, and that's when you kind of see the shimmer of your halo. Very lightly illuminating about less than a foot in front of you. It seems to be kind of shimmering. What do you do?
Is it getting brighter as I'm moving, or is it just...
It seems very kind of light.
Okay. I'm not going to let go of Maurice because we can't see very well in here. So if Maurice is moving past the curtain, I'm following because we're still holding on to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the way is a little bit choppy, what with all of these kind of growths all over the floor. I would like each of you, or one of you, to make a movement roll to make sure you don't lose your footing.
Gotcha. What's the rating?
I would say this is a 7.
Oh my god, I rolled another 2. Not good.
Okay. So now that you've kind of I think at this point you trip a little bit, and I need you to make another roll to see if you can maintain your grip. So give me a physicality roll.
Still not good. I just rolled a 1.
Okay. You lose your grip.
I'm not rolling very hot tonight.
You lose your grip, and I think Maurice, reflexively, you reach back behind you, and you kind of look back to find Gavriel. She's not there.
Gav? Gav!
And that's when you hear a voice say, "All of us have to play our parts. Don't you care?" And a door opens to the side of the stage left. And a little light begins trickling out. what do you do?
Maurice shouts again. He's actually going to do the same thing he did. And he's going to try to be heard in the entire opera house. So we'll call that... What level do we think that would be?
You tell me. What do you think?
Super loud. I did 3 last time.
Yeah. You want to do 3 again?
We'll do 3 again.
Okay.
He says, if you can hear me, I'm on stage.
All right. So,
and Maurice does not go towards the door.
Okay. At which point you hear, "Oh, you're no fun." And I think that I'd like you to make a dodge roll. This one's going to be a level 7.
7 on the die.
You narrowly miss as this gigantic, what looks to be a props cage falls in front of you, almost like it's a sandbag, and you just narrowly miss being like grabbed by whatever this is, and you hear high giggling laughter. Like imagine Thomas Holtz in Amadeus. Like
Can I not imagine that? Can I choose to unhear that, in fact?
Yeah.
Maurice, no longer amplified in this way, screams, Ashwin, it's me.
I would like, okay. All right. I'm going to pull a card, and we're going to determine what the effect is here. The Empty Gallows. Accentuating pale, decentuating green, notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Rescue, salvation, solution, favorable judgment, and escape. The gallows claim no victory today. Today we are granted a reprieve, or we make an escape, or someone rescues us. Whatever the reason, the threat is gone. The problem is solved. The Empty Gallows brings a feeling of relief, of gratitude, and newfound purpose. It is a sudden extension of life. The Empty Gallows serves as the location card for the Notions family. So what happens is that is when you hear a voice crying out. It's Ashwin's. It's coming from below your feet as you notice there is a trap door on the stage. You hear, Maurice? Maurice?
And I think this is the time when Maurice uses his incantation, the children who love zero, and becomes intangible and just falls through the stage floor.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You fall. We're going to get back to that. Gavriel.
Yeah.
There's this... I think that you have been pulled back behind... You kind of are enveloped by this darkness again. And you realize that you've been kind of pulled away from Maurice. And I'd like you to make a resistance roll.
Okay.
I'm gonna need an 8.
Exactly an 8.
Okay.
Finally.
All right.
Finally.
Okay. So this is what happens is as you are in wherever you are, a soft candlelight begins to alight what appears to be a very large backstage area. And you can't help but notice there are all of these figures dangling by what appear to be long, fleshy strings. And all of them seem to be kind of dead body with kind of, but at the same time, the tension is upholding them as though they are marionettes. And that is when you feel the tension on your own arms raising you up. And I think that's when this waltz eerie music starts up, and it begins trying to swing you around. And as you begin moving, you also see what appear to be figures, one very angelic, one demonic. And also you see what appear to be unmistakably puppet-like effigies of your friends and of Nikolai. And all of them are appearing to dance around you and with each other. And every time they kind of dance with each other and bow, they seem to sweep at you, but you manage to kind of move out of the way. As you've kind of also pulled your resistance roll, you begin pulling against the tension, and you think you can kind of manipulate your body such that you're holding yourself aloft. What do you do?
God, I want to get out of here. I think if Gav can get control of her own body as she's moving around this backstage area, she's going to stop playing games. Show yourself.
Playing games all the same. You're all but players in these games. Don't you want to play your part? Little background part. You're not even from extras casting. You're barely even chorus.
I never was very good at stagecraft. I'll take that as a compliment.
But don't you realize, and you see there's a puppet effigy on either side of you that have kind of like floated in. One is that angel that you saw rotating around in the waltz. The other one is the devil. And then they say, you don't matter. You should serve.
Shut up! And I knock it off of my shoulder with a fist.
Okay. I would like you to make another movement roll. This one is going to be a 7.
8 again.
All right. I think at this point you've knocked the head off of the effigy, and in so doing, you feel the flesh strand that's holding that cord, holding you up. You feel it give way as you have managed to free one of your arms, and I think with enough work you could probably unpeel the other.
Okay.
So I think that the thing that you also notice about this is that those voices that you are used to hearing when things go south, they are oddly quiet right now. So we're going to cut there very briefly. And we're going to go back to Twig. Twig, you are gripping the hand of Nikolai. And you have gone through the door. And you find yourself very suddenly seated. It's odd. You don't remember sitting down. You don't remember bending your knees. You don't remember there being any sort of kind of pull or motor movement involved. But you realize that you are sitting in the audience of a large theater with the lights down low. Nikolai is sitting next to you, holding your hand very tightly. What is this place?
I hazard a guess and say theater.
Gavriel? What's your other friend's name? Maurice? Maurice?
I'm Kyrrie.
Kyrrie! Oh, this is awful.
Yeah, not on my top 10 list of places I expected to be.
You kind of feel the seats sticking to you.
Oh, fuck no.
All right. What do you do?
Hard pass. Hard pass. Stand up immediately.
Okay, I'd like you to make a physicality move. Challenge 8.
Gross. I'm putting a sortilege into this.
Okay, roll 2.
That's an 8 on the regular dice.
Excellent. Yeah, you pry yourself out and I think you managed to pry out Nikolai's arm from the seat of the chair, and you are able to kind of like pull him out if you would like.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I mean,
that's when you kind of realize how sticky the floor is as you move as well. This
is awful.
Yeah. But as you are kind of like, overtaken by this kind of like motor challenge, that's when the stage lights up. Where are you going? We're not even in the first act yet. And you see a familiar figure. A woman with green hair is on center stage. She seems to be delivering an impassioned soliloquy. She's dressed just kind of how you would imagine Ophelia to be dressed in Hamlet. And the sound that issues forth from her lips is that of a dull, whining hum. You can tell that there's more that she's trying to say and is trying to communicate, but that's all you can make out.
These seats look like they're made out of
some sort of organic growth.
Like fleshy, wet.
All of the above.
Flammable?
Maybe. Could be flammable.
Or inflammable, your choice.
Uh-huh.
So Twig is definitely going to get to an aisle, wherever the closest aisle is, and make their way forward.
All right. As you are pulling along, Nikolai, you are making your way forward. Are you trying to go down the aisle towards the stage, or what are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yes. I don't know why I'm exasperated with my character right now. Sorry. Yes, Twig is just like, yeah, no, we gotta rescue this person. And also, they glance around and rather loudly announce, I'd like a refund, please.
You buy the ticket, you take the ride. Didn't anybody ever tell you the first rule of the box office? And there is
I thought the customer was always right.
Have a care. Shouldn't you stare? And there is a shadowy figure moving towards the woman on stage, wreathed in wispy shadows. And from the other side of the stage is a figure clad also in shadows, but gleaming silver-like in the stage light.
I trust neither of these shadows. I guess, let's find out whether these seats are flammable first off. So I'm going to use one of my incantations. No, not the incantations, the other things.
Uh-huh.
The
ephemera?
The ephemera. I'm going to use one of my ephemera called Dragon Tongue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Twig just pulls like this dirty wad of leaves out of their pocket and just starts chewing on it angrily as they're stomping their way down the aisle. And I can expel a stream of fire from my mouth. It travels up to a short distance and inflicts 5 points of damage on one target.
All right. Are you just streaming it out over the audience chairs?
I'd like to engage in some vandalism, please.
Yeah, absolutely. You chew up that leaf, then what is it like? I was gonna say, what does it look like? It's just this big stream of fire. What is it?
I think it's like this really classic dragon fire, like just a roaring, billowing plume of flame that just kind of out and sticks like napalm because reasons.
It coats the entire middle row, just like a long diagonal stream of fire, catching on these fleshy growths. And immediately that same voice that sounded so unhinged and human before begins to make a noise like as the thing all of the fleshy growth begins to shiver and shake. And you witness as the two shadowy figures and the green-haired woman all hold their temples in pain.
All right, I still have Nikolai's hand, right?
You do.
Do you think any of this is real?
At which point I think all you can hear is Nikolai going, holy fuck.
Yes, that too, but...
And he just looks at you. He looks at your hand, clasping his, and he looks resignedly. And he says, I believe that you are strong enough to help Gavriel if you can. And he is going to give you +3 bene to your physicality.
Oh, well, hello.
As what he says to you, you immediately believe.
Don't like that part. That I'm
Nikolai's so fucking creepy, but I love mechanically. I love him.
What is happening?
So if I'm already at full
Nikolai?
physicality, do I just get like a 3 temp physicality?
Yes, you get 3 bene.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Then those last for until you take a long rest, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's Twig doesn't like any of this. All of this is stressful. This is bullshit. This is gross. They want a refund. They want to speak to the goddamn manager and shoot the manager in the fucking face. And in the meantime, shooting these creepy things is going to have to do.
You didn't spend any money.
You know what? It's the emotional price that they paid.
Excellent. All right. So
and the customer is always right, according to your bullshit capitalist rules. So fuck you, fuck this place, fuck your seats, and fuck those creepy things. And like, Twig just starts shooting.
All right. Go ahead and make an attack roll for me. This is going to be, I think, challenge 8.
All right. This is Blood Revolver. The situation has not devolved to Fortinbras levels yet.
Yeah. Make sure to add the level of your spell to your roll.
Okay. Can I put a bene in this?
Absolutely.
That'd be accuracy?
I will say, yeah, accuracy for this. You can choose either accuracy or sorcery with your blood weapon.
Yeah, we'll do accuracy for this. Okay, so that's +1, +2. So I need a 6. Oh, what's the current active card actually?
The current active card, I will tell you exactly what that is the Empty Gallows. And that is, it diminishes green. It accentuates pale.
I'm gonna go ahead and ignore that.
Okay.
Because fuck that. fuck your Path of Suns.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that this is the other thing. Is remember you can only ignore the one that's in the invisible sun.
That's right.
However, because you fired using the blood weapon, I'm gonna pull another card. We'll see how it goes.
Yes.
All right. And this one is the inevitable cataclysm. It accentuates gold, it diminishes silver. Its meanings are bad luck, endings, inevitability, breaking a relationship. While we fear the cataclysm, it is inevitable. We cannot prevent it. The end comes for all things eventually, and we cannot stop it. The earth, yeah.
Monty Cook made a card for me.
Okay. All right. I think that, you know what I think that this is? is an NPC foe faces bad luck, utter failure, or even death, the relationship between two NPC foes ends. I think this is what happens. You realize what Nikolai did. You realize that he is able to manipulate your emotions in some way. And it creeps you the F out.
That creeps me the F out.
It creeps you out like a mother heifer.
Yeah. Other question, what level spell did he use on me?
He doesn't seem to be a spell. It seems to
dislike that.
It kind of is like how you eat knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something he does.
Still, like, I realize this is very hypocritical since I spend a lot of time rummaging around on other people's brains.
Mm-hmm.
But what the fuck, bro?
And he looks confusedly at you. He's still gripping your hand very tightly. What do you do? You've already fired, so resolve that roll.
Oh, my other question was, so I have the green thumb now. That increases this. I'm carrying over a spell from a previous casting because it didn't deplete, but I now have the green thumb. Does that increase the level of the spell?
Absolutely.
That I cast. Okay, dope. So it's actually a level 5 spell now.
All right. So I'm going to say this is an 8. All you need to do is roll a 3 unless you're spending Bene, in which case you need
spending, yeah. So I get, I'm spending a accuracy and I have light ranged skills.
Hit me.
So I need to roll a not 0.
Roll a 2. 2 or above.
That was a 0.
That's flux.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
aware.
Wait. No, it's you would have to roll 2 dice because this is a spell. So roll another die. Was that the physical die or was that the magic one?
That was, well, I usually use one of my fancy Dragon Con dice for the magic. That was my rainbow one. So magic one.
Okay.
An 8.
Okay. So you do not get hit by flux. I think what happens is you kind of fiddle with this new knowledge and you're just kind of like, you're kind of like caught off guard, and then you just bring the blood pistol up reflexively and fire, and you hit this thing. It dissolves into a puddle of flesh-like goo, and the shadows erupt off of it. Which one did you hit, by the way?
Probably the silver one.
Yeah.
Just on principle.
Yeah, and you hear the clinking of prop metal as it hits the floor of the stage. At which point, I think you realize this thing about Nikolai. You look back and he just looks back and his eyes go wide.
That's the point where, like, so basically it's bang, 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 turn, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. And then his eyes go wide as something erupts from the bottom of the stage. And we're going to take a bathroom break there, everybody. Yeah, 5-10 minutes, everybody. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere because things are getting crazy.
I don't like that synopsis.
But yeah, guys, see you guys in a bit. 10 minutes, so see you guys at 6:20. Hey guys, welcome back to the stream. I'm Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. Once again, I am joined by my lovely cast members. We are in the middle of the second half of our game. A lot has been transpiring. You guys have managed to find out that not only are strange things afoot at the Opera House, it appears to be taken over by a hate cyst, which for anybody who is unfamiliar with the world of Invisible Sun is actually a sapient weapon of war that causes disease, famine, pestilence, mutation, and death. They are very nasty pieces of work, and while I am sorry to do this to my players, I am no less astounded by the way they've risen to the occasion.
You're not sorry.
I'm not sorry. You guys had this coming. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. No, I am not a hate cyst secretly. Sorry, guys. Or am I?
And confirm, he's actually very cuddly.
So that's a quote. I am not a hate sis.
I'm putting that in my notes.
Okay, so guys, we again, a lot of this stuff has to do with some fleshy body horror, horrific stuff. So if you guys don't want that in your game, or you don't want to watch something like that for this stream, please exercise your best discretion, your best caution. We want to make sure that we're creating an inclusive experience that everybody can enjoy. And once again, to that effect, we are using the X card, we're using lines and veils, and at any point, if anybody tells me to pull back, I will kind of pull that back. So remember also, tools like Consent in Gaming by Monty Cook Games are really awesome to use, and they can make your table a real inclusive and friendly place. So just bear that in mind as we deal with a lot of horror related stuff.
So just to be clear, this would be the X card.
That would be the X card.
But this is just like if I'm really not happy with you.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, because I do that a lot.
Yeah, I will tell you this though. You do that, it just makes me stronger.
Challenge accepted.
Oh boy.
Okay, so guys, we are going to pick up where we last left Kyrrie, which means we need to put on again some special music. Kyrrie, you have been faced by these versions of yourself looking at you, basically kind of gripping your hand. Is Alenia, but she seems further and further away from you than she could possibly be, even though she's right next to you. What do you do faced by these reflections of you?
I think Kyrrie is going to, while maintaining a grip on Allegra's hand, and perhaps every 30 seconds or so, squeezing it to kind of maintain that reality, that connection to something corporeal. She's going to take a step forward towards her three reflections in front of her, and is going to speak to them almost in incantations, almost canticle-esque, as though they were her possible futures. So to the first, to the scholar, to the kind of more the one that embodies her sort of librarian nature, she's going to say, dedicated scholar, bound by rules but not broken, pursuing knowledge but pursued by knowledge you will never have. You exist in a gilded cage, surrounded by silent books containing the history of vislae, dusty, quiet, biding their time, voiceless, gagged by architects designing systems of power to keep their words for the right eyes only. If it's a duel you want, it's a duel you get, but you will not fire until you have walked 20 paces. I have grown wings that you do not have, and I have outgrown you. She's going to turn now to the second reflection. Militant, ambitious librarianess, archmagus, scion of King Nine, you are my blackest nature. But as much power as you gain, as much control as you take, you are shackled by those who give you that power. And she's going to hold up her arm where King Nine's bracelet is bound and see if her reflection does the same. And then
yeah, go
does
ahead.
she?
Well,
Oh no, go ahead. Does she?
I think she does. I think she... I will tell you something, though. I want you to tell me. What noise do you make? What do you do when you are fascinated by something?
I think a very, very much like a lofty kind of intrigued noise.
The scholar, when you do that, she makes that noise exactly the way you make it. As though she's seeing something, a specimen to be studied. When you do that to the Archmage, she holds up her hand, and unprompted by you, she shakes the bracelet a little bit. And she makes that same noise with a little curved smile at the corner of her lips.
And finally, Kyrrie turns toward the third reflection, Allegra. And you, Allegra, sister dearest, always a part of me, blood of my blood, not my reflection so much as my refraction. Or am I a refraction of you? We orbit one another, but never intersect. For you, I have but one question. Who were our parents, and why don't I remember them?
And I'm going to turn a card. But before I do that, can I just give a round of applause to Marissa again for once again
seriously.
writing all of this down in the middle of the break, ostensibly, I'm assuming, or off the cuff, because all right. I'm going to turn this card and you're going to find out what it portends. Oh my. The unwelcome child. The apprentice of notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Meanings, bad luck, imbalance, things undesired, outcasts, and duplicitousness. The unwelcome child is unwelcome because she is a horror. No one sees her for what she truly is, and they assume that the terrible things that happen around her have other causes. She maintains a facade of sweetness and love, exploiting our own inherent affection for children. She uses our desire to nurture against us. At best, once we have realized her nature, all we can really do is cast her out. Anything more would be wrong, for she is, after all, only a child. The unwelcome child is the apprentice of the Notions family and brings them no joy. The PC experiences terrible luck. The PC's own magic becomes a curse that afflicts them. An NPC has deceived the PC. The PC is given a gift that is, in fact, something awful. The cat knew the truth, but no one would listen to it. And the reason that it mentions the cat, there is an image of a cat trying to claw itself away from a beatific, smiling child, while a clock tower in the background shatters into glass-like pieces.
That's my apprentice, then.
Yeah, which means, while it's in play, you have -1 to your actions.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is what happens. Allegra stares at you. And you can tell there's something, it's like basically she's plumbing the depths of you. And she says, "You know as well as I, no one loves you. No one wants you. I can't stand the sight of you. You remind me of everything I lost. And that's what you are. An abscess in this reality. What parents could possibly love you?" And she's going to step out of the mirror. And that's when you hear the voice behind you that's been trying to override the hum, that pitch. It's buzzing. And you hear the voice of the mirror thing say to you, "We can help you. We can save you from her. All you need to do is leave her behind, and we will give you secrets, knowledge, a means of escape. And you have a secret available to you if you wish to use it."
Do I get to know what the secret is, or only if I choose to use it?
Only if you choose to use it.
All right. I think Kyrrie's going to do one thing first. She's going to sort of face Allegra down, this copy of her sister that has stepped out of these mirrors. She's going to say, "You are but an aspect, a fractal, without the depth and color of my other reflections. Without them, you are a shade. I am whole and you are part." And she's going to hold up her hand mirror, her shadow artifact, and use it to create a mirror tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So an infinity mirror where two parallel mirrors actually create smaller and smaller reflections that appear to then recede into infinity. And how this works physically is that as light bounces back and forth from one mirror to the next, a mirror's reflective capabilities gradually weaken.
Excellent.
So I'll let you take that where you will in terms of how that works in Saturnine, but
I think that holding that up, and it just seems you see this thing, whatever it is, it begins to flicker and diminish. And I think you also hear that whispering voice behind you, just kind of sharp intake, a hiss of breath as it feels itself being cast across many different potential realities and potential reflections. And as the shimmering begins for Allegra's reflection in front of you, there is something underneath it. There is something horrifying and yet insubstantial, intangible, but yet no less real. Kind of, you realize that whatever it is, it's the source of the hum in the back, and you realize that it is the hum itself. What do you do?
do I get a sense that the mirror voices that I've been hearing are connected in some way to the hate cyst, or that they are separate, disparate things?
Why don't you actually make a magical knowledge roll for me? So give me an intellect roll.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll pump a bene into that. And then I've also got formalized magical knowledge / magical lore to add. So that's a 3 boost.
Okay.
Added to a 7. So that's a 10.
Okay. So on a 10, I will tell you right now, this thing, this mirror creature, whatever it is, there is some sort of dark and unsavory aspect to it. There is, but you know, you've kind of read vaguely about demons. You have read vaguely about angels. You've not really kind of, the closest to divinity you've ever been has been next to Gavriel. The closest you've been to demons is literally, is just hearing goetics at dinner parties talk about, oh, I don't really think that demons are all that bad. They're actually very misunderstood. And, you know, that's kind of like the closest you've been. But whatever this cyst is, you realize that the reflection that's behind you is not related to these other reflections. You just seem to have gotten lucky in that you have a potential ally.
Indeed.
What do you do?
I think as these things are weakening from their infinite reflections kind of being bounced back and forth between the hand mirror and the reflected surface that the hate cyst has put up, Kyrrie is going to address the wider hate cyst.
Okay.
I know who you are. I know what you are. And I'm afraid you have just been outclassed. She's going to grasp Alenia's hand more tightly, and she's going to say to the mirror voice in the back of their mind, "Show me."
Okay. I would like you to make an interaction roll. You are trying to convince this thing.
Yeah. It's a 6.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no. That's a 9.
Okay. So, this is what happens. The 3 mirrors in front of you go from being reflective to going transparent and translucent. The 3 mirrors in front of you do that. And as they do, the mirror cracks in your hand. And you see, if I can find, I believe, a fleshy growth. Think of it as any kind of cyst that you may have seen in like medical terminology, but it's twice the size of a man. From it, tendrils are stretching out across the entirety of the opera house. In its clutches, at the base of it, with a tendril wrapped around their head, 2 outcroppings gripping their temples, is Ashwin Kyrrie, the friend of Maurice that you have seen. And this cyst, this awful thing, opens a mouth, and it says, with serrated teeth like a shark's and a tongue wagging in the center of its mass, it says, "Do you care? Won't you stop and stare?" And it begins speaking nonsensical words as these things, you feel the glass around, you hear the glass around you shuddering and shaking as the tendrils grip the walls of the dance studio and crush it in. What do you do?
I'm going to walk through the translucent mirror.
Okay. I am going to... All right. I assume that you are taking that secret then. Okay. You take the secret. Do you give up Alenia's hand?
No, I'm going to try to bring her with me.
All right. You are going to need to make a movement roll. You are essentially dragging somebody through the mirror with you who does not have this power.
Right. Okay. So I will pump a Bene into that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to beat?
I'm gonna say she trusts you. She's scared. I'm gonna say a 6.
That is what I got. So
Okay. All right. You
all right.
You pull her, and she tends. You can feel her kind of like straggling as you walk through the mirror like it's water. You feel like this kind of momentary like lightness in the pit of your stomach as your stomach kind of leaps up as though it's going over a car bump or like a speed bump, and it kind of catches in your throat a minute, but then you realize you've walked through the other side of the mirror. You've walked through the stone, you walked through the glass, and Alenia is with you. You hear her cry in pain as I think you stare back. You see that she has shards of glass sticking out of some of her extremities, but she is wounded, but she is still kind of standing. I think that this is kind of like the cost of that ability. So I will say, however, that this thing is staring at you. It sees you walk through, and it begins laughing hysterically. And we're going to cut from you to Maurice a little earlier. Maurice, you have found your way to the right-hand side, to the stage right exit of the stage. You are following Ashwin's voice. And there is a set of stairs leading from stage right down to a kind of glimmering light at the end of the flight. What are you doing?
Well, I believe I used that incantation to become incorporeal, so I
That's right, you jumped.
slid slid right through. So the moment I heard Ashwin's voice and knew that the voice was underneath the stage, I instinctively just dropped.
If I could give inspiration, I would in this game. But I will say that was brilliant. You don't have to do any of that. You just fall down, and you hear Ashwin's voice, but it is somewhat muffled as you see a large number of kind of non-Euclidean shapes, weird surfaces, shadowed in front of you. I assume you still have the finger flame up, right?
I do.
Okay. And as you kind of begin scanning, looking for the source of the voice, you hear Ashwin cry out, Maurice! Maurice!
Ashwin! I'm coming! And I'll take a few steps towards the voice.
As you do, I think that what you see is a massive, glowering face staring back at you. What do you do?
Is it blocking my movement?
It is.
What does the face look like?
Give me a perception roll.
5.
Okay. So easily enough, it seems to be a massive costume of what appears to be like an operatic demon. Almost like a very large kind of, like, think of it like, what was it? What's the Italian form of Commedia dell'arte? Imagine it like a Commedia dell'arte or like a punch mask, just, you know, the effigy so much larger than it could possibly be for a human head.
Maurice summons a bit of courage and chin up, says to the face, "Excuse me," and begins to try and body past it.
And as you do, are you going to touch it?
Yeah, like shoulder first, like.
Okay.
Like, excuse me.
You are going to, as you kind of shoulder past it, it is going to try to latch onto your arm. I need you to make a resistance roll. Your challenge is going to be an 8.
Okay, and I can't. There's nothing to add to it.
Well, what was it? You can add your bene. You can
from like physicality or something.
Yeah, for physicality is, I believe, resistance.
Great. Yeah, I'll spend 1. I've got a skill ability in it, so +2 to whatever I'm rolling.
Okay. All right. Where you get it?
It's a 3.
Okay. Oh, buddy. All right. So you feel this thing wrap tightly around your arm, that face glowering at you, laughing at you, and I need you to make a withstand roll, same level. This one.
And that's a mental.
Withstand is, it's basically when you are gripped by a magical disease or curse.
Okay. Which bene pool?
I'm going to say physicality. So.
Great. I will spend 2.
Okay. So you've got 2. Go ahead.
That's a 7 all day.
All day? Okay. 7 total. All right. I am going to pull a card as this thing grips your arm and you see your arm change. What into? We'll find out. This card now grips the invisible sun. The Blind Guardian. Silver is accentuated, gold is weakened and diminished. Meanings: safety, impartiality, serenity, blindness, and challenges. The Blind Guardian watches over us like a protector. That's probably our door it guards because of its blindness. It confronts all intruders equally, from the lowest vermin to the most powerful god, from the purest angel to the vilest demon. Its blindness also confers a calmness. You'll never see the Guardian worry or fret, nor will you see it eager or anticipatory. To those that seek what it guards, it is a difficult challenge. You cannot bribe or charm this Guardian. and despite its blindness or because of it, it is very difficult to fool or deceive. Crouching before the door, the guardian does not judge, it only protects. So, I am going to, this is how I see this card. Basically, this card represents the toll that you are willing to pay to reach Ashwin. Your arm is gripped in this creature, whatever this thing's done. It's this operatic costume has gripped your arm and wrapped it up. What is the quality you most care about in your arm? What is the thing you like the most about it?
That I've never thought about it. It's always been there. That it forms to the shape of the glass that I'm reaching for before I don't have to tell it to do that.
Okay. Okay. When the costume unrolls, the flesh of your arm is gray and mottled and slick. As you realize that the arm that you pulled back is covered with suckers, tentacular almost, the fingers and digits forming a pointy mass of flesh, each separate one its own little tentacle, which you realize feels somewhat stronger, but it is horrifically disconcerting. What do you do?
Yeah, I think Maurice is fully paralyzed with horror in this moment and continues to try to move past this thing, to run away.
As you do, you begin hearing a horrific as you realize that whatever this room is, it is breathing, and it is swelling, and then it contracts, and it swells, and it contracts, and it's beginning to get tighter and tighter as the room contracts, and you are following Ashwin's voice.
Yeah, screaming after Ashwin, running kind of like half not even looking at where he's going and looking at this new appendage on him.
All right. Maurice, like you, I think finally you managed to kind of get past this, like all of this growth and awful, these awful costumes. You're kind of dodging left and right, and you see Ashwin at the foot of this massive, awful organic growth. And it doesn't have eyes, but you can feel it looking at you as it says, there, don't you care? And we're gonna cut there. Gavriel.
Yep.
Remind me. You have freed yourself from these puppets, I believe.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
I'm still trapped backstage and I can't really see, so I'm gonna just be kind of pushing my way through the refuse of whatever is back here in this little storage area.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm calling out for Maurice.
I will say this. At some point, you heard Maurice's voice reverberating below you, just as an effect from that previous spell. What do you do?
Whoa. Look for some stairs now.
All right. I think that, yeah, easily enough. It's pitch black. You don't have a source of light. Why don't you give me a search roll? So perception again.
Okay. I'll pop a penny into that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 0.
Okay. I think that...
Not even gonna matter what I popped into that thing.
Yeah, I think
0
that...
on the dice.
I think that... God. With a 0. What do we do here? I think with a 0, we pull a card. Okay. We'll see how this goes. The Misunderstood Beast. Its color is green. It's pale. Its number is 0. Pale, it weakens. Notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Meanings, mistakes, gentleness, friendship, danger, betrayal. The Misunderstood Beast is a gentle giant, not a murderous monster. It seeks our friendship, not our flesh. Can we see the past, its physical nature, and ascertain its truth? Will we even try? Snap judgments can result in horrific mistakes. We judge something by its appearance or simply by the initial reaction it churns in our heart. But the real truth of a thing can rarely be ascertained so quickly. This misstep can catch us from either direction. We might judge something as ugly as evil when it is not, or we might assume someone pleasant is a friend when they are not. Either way, we are harmed or at least lessened as a result. The fearsome need not always be feared. Okay. So I think in this current situation, I think that it really represents kind of like the mistake that you make, which in this case is the failure of like looking through the darkness. You have made, I think, but you do come to a realization. You have made an assumption that this thing obeys the law, obeys physical laws. And that is the realization you have. Now, depending on what you do, we can call this a despair or we can call it a joy. What do you do?
I think Gav stops looking for a second and takes this very deep breath in and closes her eyes and tries to like not rely on her sight as she moves through this complete illusion. As she just feels like none of this, when she first came into this opera house, it wasn't like this at all. And now suddenly they have the capability of separating each other. Nothing about this is following anything in the realm of physical. So maybe the answer is to not think about this physically.
Okay. So I will tell you this is also what happens. You think about moving through this, you close your eyes. I want you to... Actually, I don't even think you need to roll for this. You begin to hear... What happens is your third eye opens. And then your fourth eye, and then your fifth, and your sixth, and your seventh, and your eighth, and your ninth eye.
Oh my god, am I turning into a wheel of angels?
What happens is the choir inside of you begins to try to push forward and push out your awareness. If you would like, you can use that ability. I believe it's We're Always Watching.
I have, I was just looking at this too. I have We Are Many. The angels are always watching. We add 3 bene to our perception pool as the angels are even more aware of what's going on around me than I am.
Yeah, and what we can do is we can mechanically say that you spend the sorcery to activate that if you like.
There's no spend to that, as far as I can tell. It's a forte ability.
Yeah, sometimes forte abilities, they do cost. It's only if they say it's passive. Like,
I either fail to write that down, but I can't tell from my own character sheet.
Okay, so no worries. We'll call that. We'll address that later. But the thing is, I will say that
it's just level 2. I think it's just 2.
Yeah. So I will say this. Not only do the eyes of the angels open, but the eye of that dark thing inside of you as well. And you feel their awareness and their perceptions reaching out. And you hear, I think you don't really hear Athariel. You just feel her and the choir pushing forward, trying to find purchase anywhere it can. But that's when you also hear Jakob. Whatever Jakob is, if that's really its name. And you hear it say something new. almost in a panic. It says, "Serve the faceted one. Protect the lie." And you begin feeling them push you towards a stairwell.
Yup. I'm writing that down. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm in control of what I can do right now.
Yeah.
If we're moving towards the stairwell that I'm going,
Yeah.
I'm not really the one seeing.
You realize that it is whatever it is, it's taking you closer to the sound of Maurice's voice. And
Perfect.
I think that as you are, I think one of your arms is finding a way, and that's when you realize that it's Jakob that's pulling your arm. And I need you to make a resistance roll. I'm gonna say this one's a 6.
7.
Okay. You feel the Jakob's urge to literally just push your arm through the floor at the cost of your body. And you fight that urge and you catch the arm, but you know that that's what Jakob's instinct is. What do you do?
I'm going to put a little flavor on this one and say that as I resist that, there's a moment where if anyone was around, even though now I'm covered in eyes, probably my body like shifts and ripples and form into that Imanis monster before it goes back down into what would be normal me if I wasn't covered in eyes.
All right.
Yeah, I think there's a real like push pull of like, what am I capable of hearing what's happening? Am I capable of mentally communicating with the choir that's in me?
I don't know, can you? You want to give it a shot?
It's just like, I'm the one still in control here.
Oh, let me double check something real quick. Okay, yeah. At which point you hear Athariel's voice, strained, say, "Then you must prove it. Do something." And yeah, what do? You can feel Athariel is weakened by wherever you are. Whatever this place is, it's diminishing her abilities. It is also diminishing Jakob's self-control in terms of keeping secrets. What do you do?
Keeping secrets. Do I know what a hate cyst is? I don't think that I really do.
No. I will tell you this. You may make a magical knowledge roll and we'll see how that goes. I will say this one's
I was
about...
about to say, I don't think Gav knows the history of them.
Yeah, I think that this would be challenge rating 7. You get +1 from your informal knowledge as well.
It's still gonna be a 4.
You know that they're bad.
Hey, don't like them. Definitely not.
Definitely
no,
not.
Not a thing.
I will say with a 4, you realize that they are what's responsible for the ruined expanse.
Okay, so I know they're connected to the war.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, cool. That was the question that I think that I would have had for that.
Yeah. But whatever is going on, it's basically like static in between the frequency on which both Jakob and the angels are traveling.
So here's my slightly coded question to you, dear DM.
Uh-huh. I'm all ears.
Does this feel like it is somehow affecting me in a unique way, depending on what made this particular cyst and how it got here? Considering
I'm gonna turn a card.
Is that why Jacob is losing control? Is it trying to make me lose control?
Give me a perception roll.
Okay.
You can, again, remember you have those 3 bene from the angels are always
Yeah, I'm
watching.
popping one in. Popping one in.
Okay, I'm going to say that this one's a 7.
That's a 9.
Okay.
With that +1, it's a 10.
Woo! All right. So with a 10, you realize that this thing is indiscriminate. It is a part and parcel of, it is whatever this thing, it's basically lashing out at whatever is
Anything. Okay.
And not only that, it is probably drawing strength from people's nightmares. It seems to have drawn strength from knowing kind of the trouble that you are in, kind of like that feeling of being neglected, of being puppeteered by the world. It's using your fears, probably the fears of all of your companions as well. What do you do?
Okay. I am going to, for the first time, this is going to be an interesting thing for me to do here. I will cast Eye of Amanus.
Okay.
But every time I've done that, I have either not consciously cast it, I have just sort of raptored into this form.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to, now that I'm like fully pulled into this like spiritual form, I'm going to cognitively, like literally like take this breath and become aware of the fact that I know that I can do this form and I've done it before and I know what it feels like. But without this primal way to do it. And I'm gonna put a little flavor on this and say it looks very different.
Excellent.
There's still this very bird-like, monstrous form. I'm leaning into the card that you pulled as well. But there's something about this form that instead of looking like a monster, looks like another species. Like an actual sentient creature.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now in place of the claws and talons that I always kind of had with the sprouting bird feathers, there's something very Archaeopteryx for all my dinosaur nerds out there. The feathers and the wings are actually in tuned with the rest of my hands, and I actually like have talons on the edges of the same winged hands that are more prehensile.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes don't look animalistic anymore. They are the ones that where the eyes are supposed to be. They're humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
Still with like a very bird-like coloring and maybe the pupils, but there is a very sentient thought process behind it. My face doesn't really go full raptored anymore, but there's a very bird-like quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, it looks like I am a like anthropomorphic Archaeopteryx in a weird way, instead of like a wild and crazy raptor.
I love it.
And I think with that power that's kind of coursing through me, but like cognizant of what's happening, I'm gonna try to slam through into the floorboards. But like with both claws to like rake it up, as if I'm trying to like just pry up the floorboards.
Absolutely. And I think that I am going to award you a point of joy, A, for the description, B, for the fact that you feel with these these parts of you on being their control and their hold being interrupted. You are exerting your own force over your own will for the first time. And I'm going to award you a point of joy as you do exactly that. You rip up the floorboards, and as you do that, a gloom that was cast over the opera house diminishes and is dispelled as all of you see each other in sharp relief, as this thing, whatever it is, erupts through the floor. Whatever kind of magic or whatever kind of hateful power this thing had in order to separate you is dispelled, and all of you see the hate cyst in its full glory, which I believe requires this. Now, we enter into combat. All of you can see each other some of you the worse for wear, some of you made more powerful by the fact. All of you are facing this massive 2-person sized cyst. Gavriel, you have ripped up the floorboards right as this thing erupts out of it and begins pulling itself up. I think Ashwin at this point is also being pulled up, but Maurice, you are being pulled up along with it. Your combat kind of spans both the bottom of this mechanical engineering room, wherever this cyst, took place, or kind of was sourced from, and then it's kind of like lifted up into the proscenium. So, top of combat, I am going to go ahead and say, I need you all to make a resistance 10 roll.
Well, I didn't.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Fine.
What Bene would that be?
This would be resistance. I'm gonna say intellect. So qualia.
if that's
So I meet.
possible,
Sometimes
I still can't do it. God
Yeah,
damn it.
I have a plus into resistance as well.
All right, I'm gonna push in my last sortilege then.
Okay.
Use that.
All
I
right.
don't know. Draw on that. Good. Apostate. Go fuck yourself. You can't magic me.
Okay.
Mood.
Excellent.
That goes poorly.
All right. So here is what happens. This thing emerges from the floorboards, and there's something about the sight of it. It's kind of almost Cthulhu Lovecraftian, where it feels like you just feel this keening whine, this interference, like messing with your brain waves as a large cry from the cyst sounds throughout, and I need all of you to take 2 points of mental damage. You may spend intellect as normal in order to negate 3 points of it.
So I actually met 10. Do I still take the mental damage?
You do not.
How many points?
2 to start.
I will do it.
Okay.
So by spending intellect, we can negate that.
Yeah, you can negate one set of 3. At which point?
Sorry. So 2 wounds.
No, 2 points. Less than 1 wound.
Or okay.
Okay, but we can use our intellect to not take any points of damage at all.
You can.
That's what I understood, yeah.
We'll definitely do that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, Kyrrie, I believe because you are facing this thing, you have strode towards it. You are confronting it. I believe that you are going to go up first.
Right. So the thing about the theory of time, this is a new spell that Kyrrie has not used before. It's been called quantum, relative, wibbly wobbly, but it is still a progression of cause to effect, whether or not it's strict or nonlinear. And once you accept this about time, its mutability, its fragility, and its impermanence, you need not be beholden to it. Time instead is beholden to you. So Kyrrie is going to use a spell called Time Blade. And what this looks like is that she's holding what looks to be a sword, except when you watch it for long enough, if you look too hard, you would swear you see it cycling from like newly forged steel, all molten, not yet formed, to gleaming, sharp, reflective, like, brand new. And then again, tarnished, crumbling, rusted with age. For her, it's like feeling for one fraying stitch in fabric that has been, is being, will be woven, and pulling on that thread, therefore unraveling the passage of second to second and extracting that long strand and shaping it to your will. So that is, for her, what Time Blade is. Mechanically, it's stretching out a handful of time and shaping it into a blade. This weapon inflicts damage equal to the level of the spell by speeding up time for whatever it strikes, causing things to wither and decay. It has an enhancement of +1 die with each attack, and it lasts for the entirety of the current combat encounter.
Excellent. Go ahead and make an attack.
Cool.
You are going to have to hit an 8.
Okay. So with the +1 die, do I roll 2 die then?
You do.
Okay. So that is an 8 and a 0.
All right. Was the 0 on the magic die?
No, it was on the normal die.
Okay, so you don't get flux. You almost lose the grip on the blade as you slash kind of describe for me where you're kind of aiming for this thing.
I think from what she knows about hate cysts, like destroying the source is sort of what she's been told. And so in order to do that, she wants to disconnect those like fleshy tentacle like things that she saw pulsing through the other rooms. So she's going to try to hack off effectively one of the tentacles.
All right. And you said it's a level 8 spell, right?
It's a level 6 spell. I got an 8 on the other die.
Okay, so you do 6 points of damage as you rake down, and don't forget to always kind of be adding your level to the attacks as well. So you rake the blade down. You watch as these things begin kind of crumbling to dust as the tendrils kind of rip apart and leave and kind of are severed. And some of them begin to crumble at the ends. And again, you hear that as it takes the damage. It seems to have really hurt it. And I need you to make a resistance 10 roll.
Okay. Make it a 6.
All right, you got a 6. You see, I think in your vision, as you've slashed down, you turn and you see Alenia clutching her chest as though you see the time blade slick with her blood as she looks at you. Why would you? She's beginning to bleed profusely. What do you do?
I think Kyrrie's going to go like, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, and trying to convince herself of that reality. But at the same time, I think she's going to take a step back from the hate cyst and like move toward Alenia in case like she is very really going to be bleeding out.
Okay. Cool. I think Maurice, you go up next. What do you got? You are right at the foot of this thing. You are gripping Ashwin.
Oh, I'm at Ashwin. Okay. So, what can I do? I think I'm going to. So I have this new appendage. Does it move? Do I have any difficulty using it? Does it do? Like maybe in the sense that like I'm not a non-expert user, but if I tell it to go up, it goes up.
I will tell you this. I will give you 1 vex to accuracy or movement. Your choice.
To movement.
Okay. Yeah, so you have 1 vex to your movement just from the sheer, just like, oh, God, looking at this thing that is your hand.
So Maurice is kind of shielding himself with this tentacle arm he has and calls forth this very futuristic looking set of glasses with like tiny scalpels all around, like Guardians of the Galaxy, all those little tiny lasers that just like formed up in little balls. Yeah. He's got those there and he's beginning to cut Ashwin free.
Okay. Why don't you give me, you're going to need to make an accuracy roll. I believe that is going to give you a great deal of, what level is that you've done?
That's a level 6.
Okay, so I need you to just roll a 2 or above. You can also spend a bene.
No, that's fine. 2 or above, we can do this. Right, guys? Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so
12 all day.
You begin cutting, 12 all day. You cut easily through these tendrils, at which point I think that Ashwin, in a panic, you realize, taking a look at Ashwin having cut away all this stuff, they look enervated. They look as though they have been diminished, hurt by whatever this thing is, as though it's been taking their vitality. And Ashwin is going to do something in reply, but the first thing I need you to do is I need you to make a resist 10.
Is this intellect?
This is intellect.
All right, with my secret, I can spend 3. I will spend 3.
Okay.
7 all day.
Okay, so on a 7, you've cut, and that's when you see that you've cut very deeply into Ashwin. They just, Maurice, you're killing me, stop. And I think it's just kind of horrifying at least for now. Let's go ahead. I do want to do one thing. As Ashwin looks enervated and looks terrified by what's happening, I am going to have them do something in particular.
I think we need a couple card pulls, though.
Oh, we do. So that's the first thing is going to happen is we're going to make a card pull for you, for your spell.
And then Kyrrie's as well, right? Time Blade?
Oh yeah, Time Blade, absolutely. Okay, so the first one for Time Blade is Apprentice for the Weeping Priest. Once again, the priest sits alone, filled with sadness or remorse. What has happened? What's causing his misery? Happiness, success, and good fortune are fragile things, easily taken away by the cruel hand of fate. This is particularly true when there's a probably unseen weakness in a plan. I think what happens when you do that, Kyrrie, when you see Alenia stabbed, is I think that is what the kind of the personification of the weeping priest is. Do I weep most for the wrongs that I have witnessed or those I have committed? And so I feel like that's very appropriate. The next card is the Enticing Jewel. Greed, money, beauty, goals, success. So the success was cutting through all of the tendrils. Its color is invisible, so it accentuates that protective magic, but at the same time, there is something, I think, with this. The light at the end of the tunnel, the brass ring, the center of the target. The object of our desire lies before us in the form of the Enticing Jewel. You have successfully cut Ashwin free, and as you kind of still have to endure that vision of cutting them, you realize that it is an illusion with this card pull. However, there is something that Ashwin is going to do as soon as I find exactly the right file. So let me go ahead and just find key real quick. The key being the big player guide. Ashwin is terrified. They are about to what feels like they look like they're on the brink of death. And they are going to look at you and they are going to speak very powerful words that begin to echo. And they say, to everybody in earshot, you can hear this. My name, my true name, is a Chardalon. My secret soul is the Silver Star. And the character's defense, you watch as this protective moonlight shines down through the roof of the moonlit Lunarian Opera House and bolsters the defenses of a Chardalon, formerly Ashwin, as they have invoked their secret name to protect themselves. You all, having heard this, echo in your minds. You see now that superimposition, that same thing that happened to Twig when they invoked the spirit of the Doctor. You see now a fractal diamond-like star shimmering and shaking and reforming into these different patterns, this like fractal patterns, as well as these shards of gas and explosive star-like powers. And not only that, I need to pull a card as the Chardalon is going to figure out whether or not to go home. The endless woods, green, pale, meanings, mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Sounds, nature, mysteries, the dark side of the forces of light. The woods and the wilderness are untamed and safe. Travel through them is perilous. We hear things all around us that we cannot see. Trees and undergrowth conceal dangers and perhaps wonders. The endless woods is the location cards of the Mysteries family, and rightly so, for it is the very home to the unknown and perhaps the unknowable. Take even a step into those dark woods and you'll never find your way back. In a panic, a Chardalon looks at you, and with tears in their eyes, they vanish from your vision as they teleport home. And you hear, again, the hate says, "Rah!" its prey denied it. The architect, it needed to realize itself, and now it has focused all of its attention on all of you. Next up, Twig, you're up.
Anyways, so then I started blasting. So Twig basically like just kind of does is still holding Nikolai's hands and just kind of probably puts like, I think like they're not a big person, but I think puts a pretty tremendous amount of pressure on Nikolai's hand and just throws their arm back at them or back at him and just kind of gives like the most murder-filled glare possible, and then just reaches down to their hip and pulls out Fortinbras.
All right.
And strides forward. And Fortinbras is loaded with pale seeds.
All right. Awesome. Let's see it. You're going to need to hit an 8.
Other question. Can I, if I take an action to refresh a pool, does that take my whole action?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, okay, fine. Commence the shooting.
All right. Let's see how you do.
I'm gonna put an accuracy into that, so let's hope that works. Please be nice. Nah, that'll do. That's 6. That's enough.
All right.
That's a 6 plus 2.
Yeah, definitely. You hit. And I believe with pale seeds, it's 3 plus the 4 that you originally shoot. All right. This thing, again, like having seen Kyrrie cut through the meat of it, seeing, seeing Maurice kind of extricating Ashwin and then firing. Where are you targeting?
Does it have eyes?
It does not. It just has a big gaping mouth with serrated teeth.
Right in that mouth.
Yeah. And all right, you fire off and you see I think the lips of the mouth as well as the tongue turn gray and mortify as the pale seed begins gripping it. And again, you hear, "That's not fair, don't you care? I'm going to make you sit and stare." And I need all of you to make another resistance roll. 10 points as we go back to the top of the round.
This is intellect again, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Wait, are we at the top of the round? Because I haven't made an action against it yet.
That's right, you have not. Let's go ahead and peel that back. Gavriel, you're up.
Am I still making the resistance roll?
That will be after your action.
Okay.
That's everybody's resistance roll.
So I think if we're all doing this around the same time, Gav is still coming down from the floor into the same area as everyone else underneath the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are many up. So there's just like the halo is spinning like crazy and this weird form of Gav that I don't think anyone has seen before. And as like she's almost like floating or flying as if she has actual control over her wings that she has, and pulls her rifle out, but almost as if she was drawing a bow. There's like this weird aura of silver from like the halo and the eyes that are just on her arms, on her hands, all over her. And like the parrot multicolored feathering is just like on full display. And she's speaking in like a multi-toned voice with like a variety of like different accents now.
Mm-hmm.
As like the choir is like in full effect. But like you hear her voice cutting through most of it as she just goes, "That's enough." And she gives like one like flap of like one arm and then like fires the gun into the cyst.
Absolutely. Give me a roll. Need an 8.
Oh, I can do that. I'm literally built for this. With all of my pluses.
Yeah, what was it? I think that at this point, You have fired directly into this thing. How much damage do you do with your rifle?
Well, that's a 10, first of all, for firing. And for the damage, it's always 6.
Okay. So it does another 6 points of damage. This thing is looking really hurt. It again shudders. It is beginning to say nonsense words. Nothing you can kind of make out. Its consciousness, whatever malevolence, it's seeming to lose cohesion. However, in a last ditch attempt, it's going to try to lash out at you physically as one of these things, a giant kind of growth like tentacle, whips around and tries to wrap around you. I need you to make a dodge roll. Again, the level is 8.
Would that be a movement that I could pump into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
9 for a 10.
This thing whips through you. Honestly, what happens is you leap.
I'm flying.
Yeah, exactly. You leap up as this thing tries to move to sweep your legs, and you feel the kind of like these Archaeopteryx feathers begin to kind of flutter as it lets you gently back to the ground. All right, this is where I need everybody to make a resistance roll for 10.
Those are all my 10s. Watch me not do this one again.
That was 9.
All right, excellent. You got that, Hopper, as well? Okay.
No. I'm gonna keep rolling twos.
I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. I had one more intellect Bene to spend, and that is a 10.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Gav, you're gonna save us.
That is
can
a
push-
9 on this dice. I will take a picture.
All right. So, what was it? I believe, Kyrrie, you said you got only a 9, or did you get a 10?
Well, a 10 with a Bene. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
More intellect. Intellect is gone.
All right. So everybody except Gavriel and Kyrrie take 5 points of mental damage. You may use 1 Bene to negate 3 points as per normal. As this thing again begins to scream out psychically at all of you.
I assume armor doesn't do anything against that, right?
Only if it's mental armor. What do you got? Oh, it's magical armor. How much is it for 1 point?
I believe it's 1. I believe it's 1 point. It's been a minute. It's what's his face's Luster's. It's Luster's coat that I looked on for.
Yeah, absolutely. You negate 1 point of that. So you take 4 points, or you can take 1 if you spend a intellect.
I will spend an intellect.
Okay.
I'm full of intellect.
All right. Back to top of the round. Kyrrie, you're up.
Right. I think can I... I'm trying to think what check this would be to see whether or not Alenia bleeding out is real or if that's a manifestation of the psychic image.
Make me a perception roll.
Okay.
Again, your challenge is going to be 8.
All right, that's a 7.
7, it's very hard for you to tell. Basically, just because it's so real, it's so disconcerting, and like you think you vaguely feel some warmth in your hand, but you also, I think it's like an after image. You kind of see Alenia crouched over and bleeding. You also see her on her knees next to you, holding her temple, suffering. So that's kind of what you do. What's what you see.
Okay. I think I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to go for the other tentacle with my time blade.
Okay.
Or another tentacle.
Give me another roll. This one is going to be 8 again.
All right. And that's +1 die. And that's a 4 and a 5.
Okay. So yeah, I think that the what was it? That's 4 and 5 on the dice.
Yeah, each.
Okay. So in that case, the time blade again strikes true because it is a level 6 spell. This thing again, it howls as you begin cutting through it. It is beginning to deflate. All of the things that are kind of structurally holding it up are beginning to diminish. They are beginning to kind of like fall away. You realize that some of the structural integrity of the Opera House has been compromised by these growths as this thing begins to wither and to die. Describe for me, actually, what happens when you strike true.
Yeah, so I think very much in Kyrrie's mind, like she's going through the steps that Gav taught her with swordplay, where she's thinking, okay, like each step that she's taking, each stance, she's trying to do it correctly. And so when she hits the flesh of the hate cyst, I think it cuts clean through and it just cleaves this massive gaping wound in what otherwise is like this capillary. And much like if you sever a capillary, the right capillary, there's tons of blood that would come out. So I think it's very similar. Like this might be perhaps a pretty essential vein going into this hate cyst. And so I think there's masses of just pus and gross, dark stuff.
Not just pus, not just awful and dark stuff, is literally, it's beginning to like seep out that black, dark smoke that was previously giving birth to all of these cyst spawn. It's beginning to kind of bleed out again. The voices are crying out. Aah! It's awful. It is horrifying. All of you are just utterly incapable of describing. I am utterly incapable of describing how inhuman this is. How every breath it takes, every noise it makes is madness. But you have, for all intents and purposes, you have killed this thing. However, the Opera House is the machinery around the proscenium, the columns that are holding up, the colonnades that are holding up the mezzanine, the 2 floors of the Opera House, they are beginning to shudder. What I think that is your turn. We're going to go back to Maurice. Maurice, what's going on? You just watched a Charlatan reveal their secret name. What do you do?
Maurice was filled with rage. His protective instinct gone, his reason to care was filled with rage, and then watched this thing explode around him and in its death throes. And I think feels a little bit like he wanted a piece of that, but didn't get time to. Instead, now he's seeing the kind of the collapse of this place and realizes that all of his friends are there, and he needs to get out. Let's see, what can I do? He wants to, so here's what he does. Level 4. I think maybe you'll agree that a level 3 effect would be to improve the speed of people.
Yeah, level 3, how many people?
I think will you permit me to spend an action to refresh a pool?
Okay. All right.
So Maurice says we gotta get out of here and refreshes a pool.
Okay. Next up, Twig, you're up.
When Maurice refreshes a pool, I would also like to refresh a pool.
Okay.
Twig is going to, after seeing this thing thrashing and dying, is going to turn, spin, and just charge right back and try to knee Nikolai in the stomach.
Okay. I would like you to make an attack roll.
What?
You just,
You know what? Let's just say, let's knee him in the dick.
all right, you just need to hit a 5.
I'm gonna put a Benan in that.
There's a giant aberration of nature in front of you, and you're gonna hit.
Yep. Don't fuck with my brain.
I'm gonna remember this.
Don't fuck
Gavriel
with my
will remember
brain.
this. All right.
Yeah, that's a 7 plus whatever physicality you said. Oh, did I just use one of the bene that he gave me?
Yeah,
knee
he
him in
did.
the dick?
He's not going to do that again. Nikolai will remember this as well.
And then Twig presses Fortinbras right up to his face, and says, "What did you do to me?"
And he's panicking. He just looks at you and he just says, "The world is coming down right now. Is this important?" You did a lot of damage to the twig and berries there.
Yes, clearly, this is very important. I will ask you one more time before I rip it out of you.
that is the end of your turn. Gavriel, you just witnessed Twig just unleash on your friend.
I literally think as you're saying that, because you're not paying attention, like I'm covered in eyes and I see everything in 360 in this room right now. I saw that shot that Kyrrie struck into the creature, and I think that there's like this like moment where like 18 pairs of eyes just like all and as you say that last line, you feel the cold press of my rifle up against the back of your head. And if you turn, I'm sure in this light, even despite the fact that I'm not in like the monstrous version of this form, there is still like an 8-foot tall Archaeopteryx woman staring at you from places that I should not be staring at you with.
That's a horrifying image. Can I parse that this is Gav?
Oh, it's a sniper rifle pressed to the back of your head. You know it's Gav.
Held by a bird.
So
Held by a bird.
Twig is not gonna move. Twig, I kind of picture, I'm kind of basically picturing just hard knee right to the twig and berries, pushed down on the ground, one hand on chest, one Fort and Bras, which is a giant fuck off revolver. Like it's the ideal of a revolver, pressed up against his face, and then this, and Twig isn't gonna say anything, or Twig isn't gonna do anything, but it's just gonna say, he tried to meddle with my mind.
Okay.
Perhaps you might want to deal with what is a bigger threat in front of us right now, and I won't shoot you.
Speaking of bigger threats, I need all of you to make a level 7 dodge roll as debris begins to fall from the ceiling.
Hi, that's a 7.
Did not get that one. Nope, that one was a 4.
Okay. You're okay? All right. Yeah, Gavriel, I think what ends up happening... Okay. I think what ends up happening is some plaster from the mezzanine, or not from the mezzanine, from the catwalk falls. Probably like just a comically large sandbag. Why not? And I think is going to probably come down on your leg. So I would like you to go ahead and you already made the roll. So I am going to give you 2 points of physical damage. Again, you can spend physicality to negate that, but I am also going to give you a vex to movement as this thing came down on your leg.
Even if I negate it.
Even if you negate it. Yeah, I'm going to say.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I think she was distracted.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's again top of the round. Kyrrie, you're up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what's happening with Alenia?
Alenia, that like after image of her that was clutching a wound that you inflicted is now gone. And so you now just see her gripping her temples very tightly with her hands, while like one hand holding on to you. She's on her knees next to you. She's whatever this thing was, it brought her to probably the brink of death.
I think Kyrrie's gonna squeeze Alenia's hand pretty tightly and say, "Can you help me get them out of here?"
And she is going to look and just how I'm so worthless. I don't know how.
Kyrrie's gonna slap her. You are not.
Okay.
Get up.
All right. She is going to do that. All right. Is that going to be your action?
Yes.
Okay.
And refresh a pool, but that's the flavor.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, you do that. I think in so enabling Alenia, it wakes you back up. All right. So last kind of, I think that in this point, next person up, Maurice.
So Maurice weaves heart and wind, kind of lassoing these like Spider-Man pulling these webs of reality and weaving together health and speed. grants unnaturally fast movement to the entire party for 2 rounds. And I'm going to do the math here. We'll call that base 3, boosting 1 for 2 rounds, and then plus 1 plus Twig, Gav, Kyrrie, Alenia. Is that everybody?
And Nikolai.
And Nikolai.
Okay. So you spend this sorcery. All of you feel a wind underneath your feet. You feel lighter than you ever have. You feel, again, Maurice's magic begin to suffuse you. I believe, Maurice, you can move if you would like.
Yeah, and he, like, gets finished casting the spell and then, like, kind of tries to hide his arm from everybody and says, "Follow me," and rushes towards the exit of the theater.
You are moving with so much alacrity, it's astounding. Nobody, I think, could probably have foreseen that this kind of... I think that this is the power of the weave on full display. Next up, I believe that's Twig. What are you doing?
Feeling really fast, huh? Ooh. Oh, this is... Oh, character choices. Oh, no. No, baby, no. Okay. Twig is going to stay exactly where they are, but roll and alligator roll with Nikolai. So Nikolai is between Gav's rifle and them.
Okay. All right. Gav, it's your turn.
Speaking of character choices, I think she doesn't understand why you're doing this, like, here and now. Like, it's just there's so many things that don't make sense, and with such violence that it feels like a weird betrayal, given everything that they had just gone through. When they have a monstrous enemy right in front of them, it doesn't add up for her. And I think in that immediate anger and panic over seeing, like, the only friend she's had that is, like, not a lie now be threatened by you, you start seeing the figure of what looked like, probably, like, it almost was like another species, like a lacuna or something like that. It's shifting again into the version that you know very, very well. Like, I think there's enough wherewithal for her to put the gun back on her back. And I think that silvery light starts spinning red, and all of the eyes are turning red, and they are looking at you. As Gav's very human-ish face starts elongating, and you start seeing fangs.
Protect. Serve.
Okay. All right. You guys are in the middle of a détente, as it were. I need everybody to, again, make a dodge roll. 7. I'm actually going to say it's 8 now.
All right.
Could we get maybe a +1 die from my speed effect?
Absolutely. Everybody gets +1 die. And also, Maurice, you do not have to roll.
I won't.
But I still have a vex to movement,
Yes, you do. So
I
subtract.
don't get it.
Oh, you do. You just subtract 1 from your roll.
Oh, I thought the DM calls out the vex.
Yeah, I do. And but the problem is I forget it. So thank you for calling that out for me. All right.
I forget too. That's why I have to say it. I have to say these things.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I rolled 2 3s.
Okay. Again, this time it's actual plaster. It's falling down. It hits you. I think in your raptor form, it barely registers as anything. I think you will take a wound unless you use physicality again.
Nah, rule of cool. I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna, like, I'd like there to be, like, some amount of damage, but so because I'm busting with physicality as a character.
Okay.
I can. How many do I have to use?
You use 1 physicality to negate 3 damage, so 1 wound.
Okay, I'll
yeah.
use 1 physicality.
Okay, yeah, you just shrug off this this plaster falling on you. It is terrifying to watch, Twig.
And now you there's this line of blood dripping down, and then you just hear this very low rumbling growl.
Kyrrie, top of the round. What are you doing?
I think, one thing Kyrie's gonna do before, as she's running on her way out, she wants to get a sample of this hate cyst.
Okay.
Capture it in a jar. But the only implement that she has with her right now to do the cutting is this time blade. So she's gonna try to make as quick an incision as possible so that it doesn't all completely rot away, and stash it in a pouch.
Easily enough. You do manage to do just that.
Cool. Then apart from that, running.
Okay.
And having basically a hold on Alenia's hand.
Yeah. And she is moving. By the way, Nikolai is looking panicked at all of you. I think that at this point, he's gonna.
Do you need a card pull for my weave?
Yeah, I think so. I think a card pull would be exactly appropriate. We're gonna see whether or not what his instincts are. All right. The Swan. It's a companion card, which means I get to turn another. Good fortune, good weather, latent talents. Latent talents is good. All right, I'm going to turn another card because it's a companion card. All right, latent talents. Elusive sleep. Futility, worry, stress, awareness. The richest noble cannot buy sleep. The strongest among us cannot compel its submission. Even the wisest person might lose a night's rest to anxiety. Still, when we're awake, we are aware, and that awareness can be crucial. I think that Nikolai's going to look at you. I'm going to look at Gavriel. There's a calculation there, and he's going to look at you, Twig, and he's going to say, I need you to go to sleep, and I need you to make a resistance roll of 10.
Wow, go fuck yourself. This is one of those player moments. All right, I'm gonna pump.
You know what? I don't think
that.
10. I don't think 10 is fair. I'm gonna make it 6. Okay.
Well, I'm still pumping Swordledge into this. Mm-hmm. And what level spell is it?
It's a level 6. It's a forte ability.
Okay. Do I get any bonus from being from having Spellbreaker?
Absolutely. I'm gonna give you 1.
Okay. So that will so I have a 4, so the Spellbreaker and then the oh wait, no.
It's 6.
I have dodge, not. Yep, nope.
Yeah.
I go to sleep.
You go to sleep and he catches you. And he says, "We need to run now." And he looks back at Gavriel and he's going to start moving. He's not even going to stop. He's going to assume that you're coming with him. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You begin moving out. Kyrrie, you have snagged a sample. Maurice, you are moving out of the out into the foyer. You don't see too much kind of debris falling here. It just seems to be the structural integrity of the theater itself. You've busted through one of the exit doors. There are flashing lights outside of the foyer through the moonlit glass windows, these spectral kind of reflections catching your eye, and you are almost home free. You are at the last stretch. What do you do?
I'm trying to make it so that the illusion that Duncan's not here.
Oh no!
Maurice will go to, so the side doors are chained and it's the same revolving door.
Yeah.
Is it still clouded by smoke?
No, it's completely crystal clear. It is, if anything, it seems to be cracked in places.
And is there like a pane of glass, like to the side of the revolving door? Like, is it just like an open glass? He's gonna bust through one of those side glass doors.
Absolutely.
He's just gonna dive straight through it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Kyrrie, likewise, because her time blade is still in effect, I think she's just going to take a big old slash at the revolving door and try to revert the glass to a time before it was forged.
Yeah.
So sick.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you do that exactly. You cut through this Lunarian moon glass, as it were, and you watch as it starts from coalesced moonlit glass into actual light, and it becomes completely incorporeal, and you just walk through. And I think that whatever
Maurice is diving through it, so like as it just disappears, he was expecting to hit resistance, but just goes flying.
Yeah, exactly. You land outside. Gavriel, what are you doing?
I think that she's currently kind of like half changing and trying to maintain some semblance of control. But I think in this sort of in between bestial form, she's also just gonna bust through. Although now there's really nothing to bust through, so she's just gonna keep on moving.
Yeah, absolutely. As you do this, you get through the door. What was it? Nikolai still carrying Twig. They're slight in his broad shoulders. You manage to get through, and that is when you just hear the sound of crumbling plaster behind you as the opera house the theater falls apart, but you have made it safely out, which means I get to change this music to something a little bit more relaxed. You have made it outside of the opera house, and a strange sight greets you. There are a number of onlookers, just kind of, I think that at this point, true to your request, a happily woofing Duncan is looking at you, and oh no, I lost.
Did Twitch just do a thing?
It did a weird thing where it gave me Norton browser protection in my
Same.
Path of the Suns thing.
I had it in the
Nice.
chat panel.
There we go. We're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, yeah, you, true to your command, Duncan found help. There appears to be a number of Parasad agents apparently talking about the best way to approach in. At which point, yeah, all of them kind of like swing to look at you as this kind of bestial form kind of comes out, but at the same time, you are alongside people like, just very hurriedly dashing out. Alenia in Kyrrie's hand, and at which point, I think that at some point, the Parasad, I think one person was just going to say, "Halt!" right there. At which point, I think the other fellow, the Cantral that you encountered, Kyrrie, just says, wait. It's just another spell. Just everybody calm down. But there is another sight that you see as they begin kind of striding forward, flanking a official of some sort in very formal dress. Their badge kind of glimmering off of the remnants of the moonlight emitting from the opera house. And these figures are tall and imposing. They are wearing black helmets that essentially look like large blocks. Behind them are a number of floating marble horse torsos that apparently one of them you see dismounting. All of them having gold-skinned hands up to about here. And you realize, Maurice, having seen this description, having heard the description and seeing the sight for the first time, these are the Thaw, the police officers of Saturnine that do the work of the Deathless Triumvirate. And the official from between them says, "What's the meaning of all this? What's going on? Situation report, Parasad." And Gavriel, I'd like you to make a perception roll for me. I'm going to give you +1 because you are have the Eye of Amanus. You may also spend 1 from your pool if you like. This is going to be...
What's the challenge?
I'm going to say 7.
No, 4.
You feel a set of eyes on you. and you're not sure what they are, but they seem to kind of pierce through your form. And I think that's what you get. And as the Thaw flanking this figure move forward, as the Parasad converge on all of you, bundled together outside of the entrance of the collapsing opera house, this is where we will leave you for this episode. So, we are running a little late tonight. It's about 8 p.m. I think that we can do recaps later for in-character stuff. But the thing I would like to go ahead and do is shoutouts and stars and wishes, if anybody has them. No more than a couple of minutes, and we can kind of proceed from there. So Gavriel, or not Gavriel, Marcy. Any shoutouts, any stars and wishes?
So shoutouts would be, you should tune into this channel Tuesday at 8 o'clock for season 2 of School for Evil and Good. If you want to see, a couple of us play some really angsty fairy tale teens who are back at it again, and it can only get better, right? We'll see.
I hope so.
But it's gonna be a good time, and you should join us for that. For very quickly, just for stars, I love what you wrote, Marissa, for that entire encounter. I think that was amazing.
Awesome. So good. And any wishes?
No, I'm just gonna keep it to stars on while we're on stream.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, below Marcy, Bill, do you have any shout-outs, any stars and
Would
wishes?
love to shout out Jeff Stormer's Party of One podcast, Party of One Pod on Twitter. Check it out. Lovely man and lovely stream.
Awesome.
Stars, Marissa, come on.
And okay, rounding over to the other side, Hopper, any shout-outs or stars and wishes?
Yeah, since we already said Marissa twice. So shout out, check us out on Tuesday. It's going to be an angsty delight. It's going to be so much fun. And shout out to, if you haven't listened to Encounter Party yet, you should. Because they're awesome and we love them. And they just finished recording season 3. So... Anyways, stars, everybody did a fucking great job. I also really loved the descriptions of I'd say, Marcy, your description of the bestial dinosaur form, so vivid and specific and clear in my mind, in a way that creating a surreal mishmash thing through Fantasy the Mind is really difficult, and that was super impressive.
Awesome. And Marissa, shout outs and stars and wishes.
No specific shout outs this week, but I think beyond giving my star to everyone for all the amazing character work they've done this episode, I will also give a special mention to Zach for all of the atmospheric, amazing work you did this episode, from the music to just making it feel really spooky and crazy and amazing. And for diving so deep into each character's specific psyche. I think that took a lot of thought and work, and so it's very appreciated.
I was so happy to do that, and thank you so much. For my own shout outs, guys, we're probably going to have another happy hour on Wednesday for everything for Manapod Studios. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stars, all of my fantastic players are amazing. I loved the Archaeopteryx. I loved Bill. I'm sorry. I loved for giving you tentacle hands, and you rolled with it. For Hopper going ahead and doing the thing that was, let's not roll with this, I guess. Let's go ahead and we're gonna have it out here in this
poor dumb baby.
Collapsing opera house.
You are in for it.
And
I'm sure.
For it.
And of course Marissa, who did an amazing job writing in the middle of in the intermission and came up with some really great character stuff. The shout out that I really want to do this week is I actually had my friend Joshua Trevitt go ahead and do the music and tailored for each character. He is a incredibly gifted glitch art musician. He has a really cool, I want to say a really cool site where he does his music on Bandcamp. It's called Circular Errands. Everybody should check it out. So it's circularerrands.bandcamp.com. If you want, you should probably see if you can contract some really cool stuff for your own streams. And I'm gonna go ahead and just type in errands.bandcamp.com. But yeah, this was a really amazing episode that I have been really looking forward to all season. It was hard to get to the point where we kind of got there, but we got there, and you guys did amazing. You also killed a hate cyst, so in one little bit of recap, everybody for killing a hate cyst gets 1 joy and 3 acumen, so that'll be one thing. All other recap stuff we're going to go over in our own private time. So in the meantime, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to 20-Sided TV and to Monty Cook Games for hosting us. We're so glad that you guys really take an interest in this. Thank you so much for Other Doc for jumping in. Thank you so much for doing your show, The Edge of Paradox, which is really great. I believe that's right. If I am mistaken, I apologize. Just let me know and we'll correct that next week. But in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for everything that we do. We want to do it for you, and thank you so much for being here to check it out. And most importantly, every time, until another 2 weeks, may the invisible sun shine on you all. Good night. Stick around for the raid.